After lunch, the group split up. Miranda offered to drive Wyatt home, while Charles insisted on taking Cece back to Maple Creek Estates. On the road, Miranda broke the silence. "I did a little research on that company you invested in," she said. "I hear their games are incredibly popular with young people. It seems like you've tapped into a future trend. How did you get connected with them?" Wyatt gave her the short version of how he met Kai Haoyu. When he finished, Miranda sounded genuinely surprised. "So, you decided to invest that much money after meeting him just once?" "Yep, that sounds like a gamble." Wyatt smiled. "I've always been lucky. How the sales at your market and the vending machines slowed down these last couple of months compared to the beginning?" Wyatt nodded. "They have, for sure. But I ran a big promotion for Christmas, and we pulled in about $15,000 in 2 days. That helped stop the bleeding." He then remembered something and pulled the Chase Bank card Miranda had given him from his wallet. He handed it to her. "The $5 million," he said. "I'll have it paid off within 2 years. That comes out to about $210,000 a month. I've already deposited the first month's payment into the account. From now on, I'll transfer the money to this card every month. I was going to ask Cece to give it to you, but you said you didn't want her to know about this, so..." Miranda took the card, a small smile playing on her lips. "Over $200,000 a month. Isn't that a lot of pressure for you?" "Pressure creates motivation," Wyatt said. "And honestly, it's manageable. The market is still climbing. I've got a couple $100,000 in my brokerage account, and I'm expecting MiHoYo to start paying out dividends by the end of the year." Miranda simply smiled, not saying another word. But inwardly, she was pleased. A college freshman who was already handling deals worth millions. That was more than just impressive. When Miranda pulled up to the entrance of his neighborhood, Wyatt reached into his bag and presented her with a small, elegant box from Saks Fifth Avenue. "And Miranda, this is a little something for you." "A gift?" "Yeah. What's the occasion?" Wyatt grinned sheepishly. "I was out buying a gift for my mom, and I realized I've shown up to your house empty-handed every time. Plus, Cece was with me, and I believe in being fair to everyone. So, anyway, it wasn't much. Please accept it." Miranda took the box. She had braced herself to pretend to love it if it was some gaudy gold jewelry, but when she opened it, she found a string of brilliant white pearls. A genuine, radiant smile spread across her face. She lifted the necklace, admiring it for a long moment before saying, "Well then, I'll happily accept." "Great. I'm going to head home now. Come over and visit whenever you have time." "Definitely." Wyatt got out, waved to Miranda, and pulled his suitcase into the neighborhood. Once he was out of sight, Miranda immediately flipped down the car's vanity mirror. She clasped the pearl necklace around her neck, turning her head left and right, admiring it for a good while before driving off, a happy hum on her lips. She had received countless gifts in her life, most of them from business partners, and she knew this necklace probably wasn't outrageously expensive. But the price of a gift was no measure of the sentiment behind it. One thing Wyatt said had struck a chord deep within her. "I believe in being fair to everyone." He was buying a gift for his own mother, and in his attempt to be fair, Miranda heard an unspoken truth. In his subconscious, Wyatt was already starting to think of her as a mother. It was Saturday, so David and Sarah weren't home. The last 2 times he'd come home, he'd woken them up in the middle of the night, so he'd made sure to take a set of keys with him when he left. He found them in his bag, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Everything was just as he'd left it. He dragged his suitcase to his room and sent a quick text to his mom to let her know he'd made it. Sarah replied almost instantly with a voice message. "Honey, what do you want for dinner tonight?" Wyatt texted back, "Could you make your meatloaf and mac and cheese? And maybe have Dad pick up some of those spicy barbecue wings for Smitty's." He knew that for the first few days of any break, he was king of the castle. If he didn't make his request now, he'd lose his chance. As expected, Sarah's voice message came back quickly. "I sent your father a text, sweetie. He'll be home by 4:30. "Sound good," he replied. He then opened his class group me and typed a message. "At everyone, if you've made it home, drop us safe and sound in the chat. And a very early Happy New Year to you all." After sending the message, he posted another one. "First person to reply gets a free coffee on me via Venmo." The $5 wasn't much, but the offer was enough to lure all the lurkers out of the woodwork. "Hannah, our generous class president. Mark, damn, I missed it again. Some other student. I actually won. I'm the chosen one, another student. How come I get free coffee and I'm always too late?" When Miranda got home, Charles was still there. She walked into the living room, her mood noticeably bright, and set her purse down. Seeing him didn't seem to faze her. She just poured herself a glass of hot water and sat on the sofa. Cece immediately spotted the pearl necklace. "That dork," she thought to herself. "Why'd he get to Mom?" Charles didn't notice at first. It wasn't until Miranda deliberately took Cece's hand and asked, "Cece, what do you think? Does this necklace look good on me?" that his eyes finally landed on it. Cece nodded slightly. "It's really pretty, right?" "I think so too." Charles finally managed to interject. "Where did you get it?" "It was a gift." "A gift?" Meaning she hadn't bought it herself. A knot of anxiety tightened in Charles's chest. He forced a calm expression. "Who from?" Miranda answered coyly. "Wouldn't you like to know?" "I was just asking. If you don't want to say, fine." Cece glanced from her mother to her father and said quietly, "Wyatt didn't even tell me. I thought he was buying it for his mom." The moment Charles heard this, he processed the key information. The good news: the necklace was from Wyatt. The bad news: it seemed that little bastard Wyatt had managed to win over Miranda, too. Charles asked casually, "How much did this necklace cost?" $800. Charles immediately scoffed. "Miranda, I swear, an $800 necklace has you this happy? You borrowed." Before he could finish, Miranda cut him off sharply. "None of your damn business." Charles's face fell. "The diamond ring I bought you when we got married. Do you have any idea how much that cost?" Miranda's head snapped up, her eyes flashing. "And what about after we got married?" Charles couldn't meet her gaze. He lowered his head, 1,000 unspoken words dying on his lips. The days at home were blissfully simple. He could sleep in as late as he wanted, with no need to worry about the company or the market. For the first 2 days, Wyatt barely left the house. He ate, he slept, and he ate some more. His peaceful existence came to an end on Monday, when his Aunt Susan brought over a freshly on vacation Riley. In the past half year, Riley had shot up in height, and the baby fat on her cheeks had vanished. While she was a bit prettier, in Wyatt's opinion, she wasn't nearly as cute as she had been 6 months ago. Her personality, however, hadn't changed a bit. The moment she saw him, it was Wyatt this and Wyatt that, her sharp, clear voice drilling into his ears until they ached. His aunt was dropping Riley off for 2 or 3 days. Riley's dad, Wyatt's uncle, was traveling to a top-tier hospital in Boston for a professional exchange, and his aunt had to work the night shift at her own hospital all week. Because of their demanding jobs, Riley had spent a few days at their house every year since she was little. It was why she and Wyatt, though cousins, were closer than many actual siblings. It was Monday. Things were busy at his parents' offices due to the end-of-year rush, so David and Sarah had left for work together right after breakfast. The moment they were out the door, a bored Riley was knocking on his bedroom door. "Wyatt, W-Y-T-T." Wyatt, looking like a mess, dragged himself to the door and opened it. He shoved $200 into her hand. "Riley, take this. Go buy whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to do. Just please, let your big bro get some more sleep. I'm begging you." As the only child, Riley had never been short on cash. She didn't even glance at the money. "How late are you going to sleep?" she asked directly. Wyatt glanced at his watch. 8:30. Riley nodded. "Okay, I'll do my homework then. I'll wake you up at 8:30. Wyatt quickly shut the door and collapsed back onto his bed. At 8:30, more punctual than any alarm clock, Riley was knocking on his door again. "This is torture," he mumbled. He threw on some clothes, opened the door with a weary sigh, and shuffled to the bathroom to get ready. As Wyatt ate breakfast, Riley's interrogation began anew. "Wyatt, how are things with you and Cece?" "They're good." "Does Aunt Sarah know you two are dating?" "Knew a long time ago." "Is it true you have a lot of free time in college?" "Yep." "So does that mean stop?" Wyatt cut her off. "Close your mouth right now. Don't say another word. Let me have some peace and quiet. This afternoon, I'll take you and your sister-in-law shopping." Riley's face lit up. She was about to speak, but Wyatt pointed a finger at her, and she quickly clamped a hand over her mouth. After breakfast, Wyatt sat on the couch and watched the stock market for a while. Around 10, he sent a text to Cece. "Wyatt, feel like getting out this afternoon?" "Cece, okay." "Cece, what time will you be here?" "Wyatt, around 1 or 2. I've got to tag along with me." "Cece." "Riley?" "Wyatt, yep. She's driving me insane." "Wyatt, I swear in a past life, she was a broken car alarm." Cece/giggle Cece. "What are you doing now?" "Wyatt, just thinking." "Cece." "Thinking? Cece. Is something on your mind?" "Wyatt, yeah." "Cece. What is it?" "Wyatt, the thing on my mind is asking me what's on my mind." Miranda sat on the sofa, pretending to watch TV, but her eyes were really fixed on her daughter. Since 10 o'clock, Cece had been sitting there, phone in both hands, texting away, a secret little smile appearing on her face every few moments. Miranda knew instantly she was talking to Wyatt. Last night, while Cece was in the shower, Miranda had tidied up her room. Seeing the phone on the bed, she'd picked it up. When the screen lit up, it displayed a photo of Cece and Wyatt at Six Flags. Not the one where he was hugging her from behind, but a cute one where she was tilting her head against his shoulder. After studying the lock screen for a moment, Miranda carefully typed in the password and opened the photo album. When she saw that there were more pictures of Wyatt than there were of Cece herself, Miranda understood. The space Wyatt occupied in her daughter's heart was growing larger every day. As a woman herself, she knew exactly what it looked like to be in love. After lunch, Cece went upstairs. Half an hour later, she came back down, changed into a new outfit, her hair pulled back into a high ponytail. Miranda glanced at her, asking innocently, "Going out this afternoon?" "Uh-huh," Cece confirmed. "We're going shopping." Miranda pressed on. "When Wyatt gets here, have him take the minivan. I have to go back to the office this afternoon. I probably won't be back until Thursday or Friday, after the company's annual meeting. Do you want me to ask Rebecca to come stay with you?" Cece quickly shook her head. "No, that's okay." This was what Miranda had expected. She nodded. "All right. Well, call me if you need anything. If it's an emergency, you can call your father too. Just let Wyatt drive the van. It'll be more convenient for you two to get around." "Okay." Wyatt arrived around 1:30. He said a quick hello to Miranda before Cece pulled him out into the driveway. She handed him the keys, got into the passenger seat, and then waved for Riley to get in the back. "Is your mom heading out this afternoon? I saw she was in a suit." "Yeah, she's going back to the office." Wyatt expertly buckled his seatbelt and steered the Lexus out of Maple Creek Estates. Riley, who had been quiet all morning, started up her chatterbox routine again. "Cece, where are we going?" "Ask your brother. Do you guys get a really long winter break? When do you go back to school?" "Ask your brother. Are your schools far apart? How long does it take to get from one to the other?" Ask my brother." Riley finished for her, giggling. "Okay, I get it. You have to ask my brother about everything now." Cece blushed slightly, adding, "Well, he knows everything." "Wyatt is so mean," Riley complained dramatically. "He wouldn't let me talk at home. He threatened me." "Threatened you?" "Yes." Riley tattled indignantly. "He said if I kept chattering, he'd leave me at home and not take me out to play." Cece didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Wyatt just rolled his eyes, not bothering to respond. "Cece, how tall are you?" 5'7". "I'm almost 5'5" now. Maybe I'll get to 5'7" too. You'll have to eat all your vegetables." "Cece, I heard you only have one big exam per semester in college." "Is that true?" Just finals." "That's so awesome. We have a test every week." "How did you do on your last one?" "Okay, I guess. If I don't do well, I'm in the top 20. If I do okay, top 10. If I do really well, I can make the top 5. "In your class?" "In the whole school, of course." "That's amazing." "Cece, do you like cats or dogs more?" Cats, I think." Wyatt stopped at a red light, heard her answer, and, in a ridiculously high-pitched voice, chirped, "Meow." Cece burst out laughing, playfully shoving him. "Oh, get out of here." The trio spent the afternoon at Metro Center Plaza. They explored the food court in the basement, sampling a wide array of snacks. Cece and Riley had small appetites, so after taking a bite or two of each treat, they passed the rest to Wyatt. Afterward, they went up to the fourth-floor arcade to play Dance Dance Revolution and the basketball hoop game. They even ducked into one of those private mini-karaoke booths and sang for a while. It seemed to be Cece's first time in a place like this, and she was buzzing with a quiet excitement the entire time. Once they were tired out, Cece led them to a dessert shop, treating them to a selection of delicious pastries. Around 5:30, Wyatt asked, "Are you guys hungry for dinner?" Cece and Riley shook their heads in unison. "All right, then let's head back," Wyatt said. "It's already 5:30, probably getting dark outside." Riley sighed, clearly not ready for the fun to end. Cece felt similarly, though she didn't show it as obviously. Wyatt grabbed Riley's hand with his left and took Cece's with his right. "Come on," he said with a smile. "Winter break is long. We'll have plenty more time to hang out." He led them into the elevator. There were a few other people inside, including a young man whose eyes went wide the moment Wyatt stepped in. He was one of Wyatt's high school classmates, Dylan, but Wyatt didn't recognize him at all. It wasn't Wyatt's fault. He'd only seen most of his classmates once at a reunion. To Dylan, they had been classmates just 6 months ago, but for Wyatt, who had lost touch with almost all of them before his rebirth, he could count the names he remembered on one hand. Dylan was completely stunned by the scene. In high school, Wyatt had been a non-entity, practically invisible. He couldn't believe that in just 6 months, not only had Wyatt's hairstyle and fashion sense changed so dramatically, but his entire aura was different. What shocked Dylan even more was the campus queen-level beauty by his side, a girl who made their old high school crush, Chloe, seem plain in comparison. Dylan had intended to get off on the ground floor, but when he saw Wyatt stay in the elevator, he followed him down to the underground parking garage. As he watched Wyatt drive away with the two girls in a luxury minivan, Dylan felt a wave of relief that he hadn't tried to say hello. At the same time, a burning curiosity took hold. How had Wyatt changed so much in such a short time? After dropping Cece off, Wyatt went inside her house to use the restroom. Seeing that Miranda was gone, he asked, "Your mom's gone? You're going to be here all by yourself tonight?" Cece nodded. A wicked grin spread across Wyatt's face. "If you're scared, I can stay and keep you company." "No, thank you," Cece retorted quickly. "When my mom travels for work, I'm always here alone. The housekeeper only comes during the day." "All right, well, I'll video call you tonight." "I know." Wyatt held out the car keys to her, but she didn't take them. She looked up at him. "You should drive Riley home. Did your mom say it was okay?" "It was her idea to give you the keys." Wyatt scratched his head. "Wow, my mother-in-law is the best." Cece's face flushed crimson at his words. She pushed him toward the door, pouting. "Just go, it's already dark. I'll come back to see you tomorrow." Okay, I know." Wyatt got back in the car and drove Riley home. They had just walked in the door when his dad, David, arrived home from work. As he was changing his shoes by the door, David started grumbling. "Some jerk took my spot downstairs again. Thinks he's hot stuff driving a Lexus minivan, damn it." "Dad, are you talking about the black Lexus? How did you know?" "Oh." Wyatt pulled the keys from his pocket. "That's my car. Were you just cursing me out?" David's brain screeched to a halt. Downstairs, he had mentally cursed the driver's entire family tree. If it was really Wyatt's car, he had just been cursing himself. "You drove that back? Where did you get a car like that?" "It's my girlfriend's family's car." "Are you serious? You're not pulling my leg, are you?" "It's true. Ask Riley if you don't believe me. The three of us were out together all afternoon." David immediately looked at Riley. When she nodded, he smacked himself lightly on the mouth, then hurried over to Wyatt and snatched the keys. "A car this nice, and her parents let you drive it?" "It was her mom who told me to take it." David grumbled indignantly. "I've been driving the same beat-up Honda Accord for almost 10 years, and you little punk get to drive something like this right out of the gate. Let's go. Take me for a test drive." "Dad, you're being so lame." David gave Wyatt a light kick on the behind. "Cut the crap and take me for a spin." What could Wyatt do? He dutifully trotted back downstairs to take his dad for a test drive in the Lexus. Sitting in the passenger seat, watching David's ecstatic expression, Wyatt thought to himself, "When I make some real money, I'm going to get him a luxury car of his own, just to see him this happy." David drove the minivan on a grand tour around the neighborhood before reluctantly parking it back in the spot. As he turned off the engine, he handed the keys back to Wyatt. "You be careful with this thing, kid. If you damage it, we can't afford to fix it." "Don't worry, I'm a pro driver." David slapped him on the thigh. "You just got your license this summer, and you're calling yourself a pro driver?" Wyatt rolled his eyes, not bothering to explain. As they walked upstairs together, Wyatt asked quietly, "Dad, do you remember what tomorrow is?" "Your mom's birthday." "You remembered. I thought you forgot." "When have I ever forgotten your mom's birthday? All these years, who do you think has been making her birthday breakfast every single time? What are you getting her this year?" David chuckled. "Your mom and I have been married for so long. What's the point of gifts? A nice dinner out is enough to make her happy." "Dad," Wyatt said, draping an arm over his father's shoulder, "I'll transfer you $500 tonight. Tomorrow, go buy Mom a new phone. The screen on hers is all cracked. Just tell her it's from you. It'll make her happy." "Yeah, that's a good idea. She'd really like that." Wyatt grinned. "You just take care of that. I'll handle the rest." A wave of warmth washed over David. He put his arm around Wyatt. "You little punk," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've finally grown up." When they got home, they were surprised to find Sarah already there. The two men tacitly dropped the subject of her birthday. One went to the kitchen to help wash vegetables, while the other plopped down on the sofa to play on his phone. Perhaps because Riley was there, the dinner spread was once again lavish. But Wyatt had eaten so many snacks that afternoon that he only managed half a bowl of rice. Seeing her son's lack of appetite, Sarah thought her cooking had been off and asked several times, "Did I forget the salt? Is the food too bland?" Riley, wise beyond her years, saw what was happening and quickly explained. "Aunt Sarah, Wyatt took me out this afternoon and we ate a ton of snacks and desserts, so we're not that hungry." "Oh, no wonder," Sarah muttered under her breath. "I was starting to think my cooking wasn't any good anymore." Wyatt quickly laid on the charm. "No way. Everyone knows my mom is the best cook in the world." Sarah gently slapped his arm, laughing. "You smooth talker. I wonder who you get that from." David immediately chimed in with a grin. "From me, of course." "Oh, please. When we were dating, you could barely string 2 words together." Instantly defeated, David stood up. "I'll do the dishes. You all just relax." After David cleared the table, Riley, with nothing else to do, took out her homework. Seeing her studying, Sarah turned off the TV and started scrolling through her social media feed on her phone with the cracked screen. The living room fell quiet. After a moment, Riley suddenly asked, Wyatt, are you good at English? Of course I am. What's the meaning of fickle? Wyatt answered without missing a beat. It means when you see someone attractive, you immediately want to move in with them. Huh? Riley burst out laughing. Sarah shot Wyatt a glare, silently warning him not to lead the poor girl astray. A couple of minutes later, Riley asked again, Wyatt, what about contentment? Wyatt quipped, it's what you feel in a tent when you're camping. You're content. Riley giggled, cover her mouth. I knew you'd say something silly. I'm never asking you for help again. You're too goofy. Sarah slapped Wyatt on the thigh. Be serious for once. You're always joking around. When you get married, your mother-in-law won't approve of you. No way. My mother-in-law loves me. So, the girl's mother already knows you're dating her daughter? Wyatt nodded. Knew a long time ago. She knew before you did. This piqued Sarah's interest. She scooted closer to Wyatt. So, from what you're saying, her mom really likes you? She more than likes me. She practically wishes I'd just marry into their family. Puffed. Sarah clearly didn't believe him, but she went along with it. Well, if her mom knows you're dating and hasn't tried to stop you, then you better be extra good to her. I know. You still haven't shown me a good picture of her. Let me see again. Wyatt pulled out his phone. Before he could even open his photo album, Sarah was leaning over his shoulder. He quickly pulled the phone back and laid down the law. Mom, you can look, but don't ask me to send them to you. I just want to look. Only then did Wyatt open the album. It was filled with pictures. Some were business-related screenshots, but the rest were mostly of Cece. There were photos of them together, solo shots of her, and even a few candid ones he'd taken secretly. Sarah's eyes lit up. She snatched the phone from him, swiping through the pictures, zooming in and out, a massive grin on her face. Son, when are you going to bring her home for me to meet? Don't even think about it for now. She's really shy. She looks like such a good girl. Oh, what's her name again? Her last name is Chun. Cecilia Chun. She's so beautiful. It's a good thing you take after me. Otherwise, a girl like that would never have looked your way. Mom, you can't even compliment someone without patting yourself on the back. You're unbelievable. Where did you take this one? That was on New Year's Eve. As Sarah was looking, a message from Cece popped up on the screen. Cece, are you done yet? Seeing it, Wyatt quickly snatched his phone back. Mom, I'm going to my room. You should get ready for bed soon. You little punk. The next morning, his phone was dead. He and Cece had video chatted for the first half of the night, then switched to a voice call until almost midnight. He didn't even know when the battery had finally given out. He plugged the phone in and got out of bed. Seeing that his parents were still asleep, he tiptoed into the kitchen to make a special birthday breakfast for his mom. Usually this was his dad's job, but Wyatt knew his dad's cooking skills were average at best. His version of a special breakfast was usually watery and bland. He poured flour into a large bowl, added a pinch of salt, and then slowly mixed in cold water, kneading until he had a smooth dough. He covered it with plastic wrap and set it aside to rest while he prepped the other ingredients. It took him nearly an hour, but he finally finished cooking a beautiful breakfast spread. He had planned to leave it on the stove to keep warm, but just then, both his parents emerged from their rooms. He quickly plated everything. The moment David stepped out of the bedroom, he caught a whiff of something delicious. What's that amazing smell? He asked, sniffing the air. Sarah smelled it too. A thought seemed to strike her, and she hurried to the kitchen doorway. Wyatt was just lifting the plate. Tada! Perfect timing. Mom, come try the birthday breakfast I made for you. Seeing her precious son had woken up early to cook for her, Sarah's heart swelled with warmth. Her eyes misted over, and she was so touched she almost cried. David peeked at the plate and asked with a grin, You little punk, when did you learn to cook like this? I learned for watching videos. Honey, maybe you should change first? David suggested. But Sarah, holding the plate, sat down at the dining table. You be quiet, she said haughtily. I want to try what my son made for me first. She took a bite. Wyatt smiled. How is it, Mom? Sarah immediately sang his praises. 100 times better than your father's. Wyatt chuckled, then walked over to his dad and whispered, Dad, I transferred you the money. Don't mess this up. David nodded silently and gave him a thumbs up. Wyatt glanced at his mom, who was now taking pictures of her breakfast to show off on social media, before taking off his apron and heading to the bathroom to get ready. It was proof that no matter how old a woman gets, she's always a sucker for a sweet gesture. After his parents left for work together, Wyatt drove Riley back over to Maple Creek Estates. Having a car was incredibly convenient. He decided that tonight, after he laid all his cards on the table with his mom about the company, he would go to a nearby dealership and buy a simple car for around $10,000. The drive from Riverwood to NYC was only about 7 hours without traffic. Leo had his license too, so they could switch off on the highway and it wouldn't be too tiring. The morning flew by. That afternoon, Wyatt took Cece and Riley out to order a birthday cake for his mom. On the way back, Wyatt asked with a smile, "Cece, do you want to come home with me tonight?" Cece fidgeted, unable to get the words out. She was shy and quiet around strangers, let alone meeting his parents at his house. Wyatt glanced at her. "My mom was asking me to bring you home last night," he continued, "but I already made an excuse for you. I told her you're timid and wouldn't dare come over just yet." Cece looked down, defending herself. "Not everyone is as thick-skinned as you are." "I know," Wyatt laughed. "That's why I covered for you. There's no rush. We have plenty of time. Tonight, I'll celebrate my mom's birthday, and tomorrow night, I'll take you to Encounter's Music Lounge. I wonder if Hannah and Emily are still working there. I could just ask my housekeeper. She goes to see the owner all the time." "All right. She's the one who took you there the first time." They chatted the whole way. After dropping Cece off, Wyatt drove Riley back to his own neighborhood. The moment he opened the door, he said urgently, "Quick, quick, let's tidy up the house. They'll be home from work soon." "Okay." The two of them quickly cleaned up, putting everything in its place and mopping the floors until they shone. Only then did Wyatt take out the cake, place it on the table, and stick the candles in. "Riley, you go stand on the balcony and keep watch. When you see your aunt coming, give a shout. We'll give her a surprise." "You got it," the little girl said, full of excitement. Wyatt went to the bathroom to find the lighter his dad had stashed away. After about 10 minutes, Riley called out, "Wyatt, Uncle is back. My mom took the electric scooter to work today. She won't be in the car. Keep watching." "Okay." A moment later, there was a knock at the door. David came in, saw the cake on the table in the spotless living room, and burst out laughing. "Your mom is going to be so happy." "Dad, did you buy the phone?" "Bought it." David pulled a phone box from his briefcase. "The guy at the store recommended it. There were two versions. I bought the more expensive one. Had a chip in $30 of my own. The phone model was on the box, a Samsung Galaxy S5. The processor was a Qualcomm 801, the standard for mainstream phones that year." She's here. Aunt Sarah is back," Riley shouted from the balcony. Wyatt quickly lit the candles and had his dad turn off the living room lights. Sarah, carrying 2 bags of groceries, walked to the door. She knocked twice. When no one answered, she muttered, "Where did everyone go?" and fished the keys out of her purse to let herself in. The living room was pitch black. Just as she was about to turn on the lights, Wyatt emerged, holding the cake, with David and Riley beside him. "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you," the three of them sang in chorus. Seeing the cake in her son's hands, with the words "Happy Birthday, Mom" written on top, Sarah froze for a second. Then, her eyes instantly welled up. The most romantic thing David had ever said was, "I love you," when he proposed. After that, he'd been too embarrassed to say anything similar. Every year for her birthday, it was just breakfast in the morning and dinner at a restaurant in the evening. This year, Sarah had been thinking of skipping the restaurant. The ingredients weren't always fresh, and the hygiene was questionable. She figured she'd just cook a couple of dishes at home. She never, ever expected Wyatt to have prepared a surprise for her. She quickly set her bags down, complaining, "You scared me," but her face was beaming. "Mom, make a wish." Sarah smiled and stepped forward, clasping her hands together and silently praying. "I hope my family stays healthy. I hope my little Wyatt is safe and happy, and that his future is full of success." After she blew out the candles, she had Riley turn on the lights. She then hurried to pick up her bags, disappeared into the kitchen, and, when she thought no one was looking, secretly wiped the corners of her eyes. "Mom, what are you doing in the kitchen? Come out and have some cake. You guys eat first. I need to wash the vegetables." "Aren't we going out to eat later? Let's just eat at home." Wyatt shot his dad a look. David scurried into the kitchen and pulled Sarah out. Then he took the new phone out of his briefcase and presented it to her. Sarah glanced at it. "What's this?" "A birthday present. Where did you get the money for this?" David quickly explained. "It was a year-end bonus from work. My phone isn't broken. The screen is cracked all over. It's not like it doesn't work. Well, I already bought it. Later, have your son transfer the data from your old phone to the new one." Sarah took the phone but didn't forget to slap David's hand away playfully, warning him, "Don't waste money like this in the future." David just grinned sheepishly. Wyatt saw through the act, but didn't say a word. He silently cut slices of cake for his mom, dad, and Riley. Then, he announced solemnly, "Mom, I have something to confess." Sarah looked up, saw his serious expression, and her brow furrowed slightly. "What is it? You have to promise me you'll stay calm after you hear it." Sarah froze, then asked cautiously, "You didn't get your girlfriend pregnant, did you?" Wyatt rolled his eyes. "Of course not." Sarah let out a sigh of relief. "Then what is it? Tell me. I started a small business in college, and I made a little bit of money this past half year." "A small business?" What kind of business could you possibly be doing? First, I partnered with my roommate to open a fresh market. Then we started a trading company. David looked completely bewildered. I knew about the market, but what's this about a company? A market? A company? Sarah thought for a moment, then asked anxiously, "We didn't lose any money, did you?" Nope. Not only did I not lose money, I made money. In the last 6 months, I've made about $30,000. Wyatt had almost blurted out a much larger number, but managed to correct himself just in time. Even so, when his parents heard the number, they were stunned. $30,000. The two of them combined didn't make that much in a year. Really? To convince them, Wyatt opened his mobile banking app and showed them the balance. Sarah stared at the number, then stiffly turned her head and smacked David hard on the thigh. David yelped in pain, nearly jumping out of his skin. "What did you hit me for?" Sarah said in a daze. "I'm just checking to see if I'm dreaming." With the groundwork laid, Wyatt mysteriously slipped back to his room and returned with the box from Saks Fifth Avenue. He presented it to Sarah. "Mom, this is the birthday present I got for you." Seeing the iconic name, Sarah had a good idea of what was inside. She was still in a daze. "You're earning money now, but you shouldn't spend it so recklessly," she finally said. "You'll need a lot of money in the future for a car, a house, getting married, raising kids. Haven't you heard what they say? Kids these days are just money-eating monsters." Once Sarah started lecturing, she could go on forever. But both father and son knew that this moment, right now, was one of the happiest their family had ever known. Neither of them interrupted her. They just sat there quietly, eating their cake. When Sarah finally finished, Wyatt said, "Mom, I already bought it. You should at least try it on and see if it fits." Only then did Sarah open the jewelry box and take out the simple, elegant bracelet. The moment she held it, she could feel its substantial weight and knew it couldn't have been cheap. How much did this cost? Not much. Sarah tried to slip it on, but it wouldn't fit. She found a plastic bag to put over her hand, and David came over to help. Finally, it slid on her wrist. "The size is just right. See? I knew it would be about right." The more Sarah looked at it, the happier she became, her mood soaring. David wasn't a fan of cake. After a small piece, he rubbed his stomach and said, "Honey, isn't it time to start cooking?" "Cook? What cooking? Let's go. We're eating out." Seeing Sarah link her arm through Wyatt's and head happily downstairs, David smiled, turned off the lights, and hurried to follow. When Wyatt got back that night and lay down on his bed, he got a text from Leo asking what he'd been up to all day. Wyatt sent a voice message back. "Besides eating and drinking, I've been spending all my time with my girlfriend." Leo quickly replied, "Can you believe it? I haven't even been home a week, and I've already gained 5 pounds. My mom is feeding me like a pig." Wyatt suddenly pictured the slightly pudgy, late-20s version of Leo and quickly advised, "You need to watch your figure." Then, thinking of his own past life, where he ended up winded after climbing a few flights of stairs, he added, "Let's go for a run together tomorrow morning." "Leo, run in this cold?" "Leo, and I can't wake up that early." Wyatt replied in a grave tone, "Leo, listen to me. Women like a love that they have to stand on their tiptoes to reach, not a man they can get just by crooking a finger. You have to make yourself better. If you can't even manage your own body, you'll never have a chance with Sophie." Leo was stunned for a moment, then replied, "Even though it feels like you're messing with my head again, I think you have a point. What time tomorrow? Where do we meet?" 6:30. People Square. Deal. With that, Wyatt ended the chat and immediately sent a video call request to Cece. Leo, meanwhile, started chatting with Sophie. The night passed quickly. The next morning at 6, Leo's alarm went off. It was still dark outside, but Wyatt's word from last night echoed in his mind. He forced himself out of bed, got ready, put on his running shoes, and hurried to People Square. Half an hour later, Wyatt still hadn't shown up. Leo called him, but the phone just rang and rang with no answer. He had no choice but to wait. Another half hour crawled by. Leo stood there, shivering in the cold wind. A little after 7, Wyatt came jogging up. He spotted Leo and waved, but Leo ignored him. "Leo, why are you ignoring me? You bastard. What time did you say to meet?" 6:30. Look at the clock now. I was stuck on the toilet for half an hour, man. Don't be such a drama queen. I'll buy you a Red Bull later. With that, Wyatt started jogging along the outer path of the square. Leo, seeing this, immediately started running to catch up. 50 minutes later, the two of them, drenched in sweat, were sitting on a bus stop bench, chugging Red Bulls. After drinking half the can, Leo pulled out his phone and posted on his feed. "Life is boring, but when you run, you create your own wind." Beneath it, he attached a picture he'd just taken of the clear blue sky. Wyatt tilted his head, glanced at the post, and muttered, "So pretentious." Leo pocketed his phone. This Saturday is Valentine's Day. What are your plans? Valentine's Day on Saturday? For real? Yeah, February 14th. You forgot. Wyatt pulled out his phone to check. Holy crap, you're right. You can thank me for reminding you. I'll probably just ask her out for a nice dinner and get her a rose. My girlfriend's pretty easy to please. I'm so jealous of your progress, Leo sighed. I think I need to be more proactive when we get back to school. What do you think? Wyatt nodded. You need to be bolder, Leo said. I think Sophie is a really conservative girl. I'm afraid if I... Before Leo could finish, Wyatt cut him off. You shouldn't be afraid that she's conservative. You should be afraid that she's only conservative with you. Wyatt continued earnestly. Leo, I know that when you really like someone, you become timid. You chat cautiously, afraid of saying the wrong thing. When you're on a date, you're always tense, and there's no romantic atmosphere. That's because you're interacting with her while wearing a social mask. You're trying to show her only your best side. Leo listened intently, not wanting to miss a single detail. To put it bluntly, that behavior is just trying to please her. But you have to understand, women are attracted to strength. They like guys who are real, capable, and relaxed. That's why some girls, when faced with the choice between a nice guy and a jerk, will choose the jerk. So you need to get rid of those nice guy habits. Try to project a sense of relaxed confidence, like how you are when you're with me. It'll make her feel more natural and comfortable around you. Leo pondered this for a moment, then scratched his head. I know all this stuff you're saying, but I always choke at the critical moment. Well, that's on you. The master once said, he who hesitates is lost, and he who is too sincere gets his heart broken. Whether you can change is up to you. Who's a master? Don't worry about who it is. Just think about what I said. If you don't put in the effort, I can't help you. Wyatt clapped Leo on the shoulder. Let's go, time to head home. Damn, my legs are so sore. I should have driven here. Where did you get a car? A gift from my mother-in-law. Wyatt spent the day at home. That evening, after his dad got back, he drove to Maple Creek Estates to pick up Cece and then headed straight for Encounter's Music Lounge. Since starting college, Wyatt had been in touch with Vivian a few times, but it was mostly just polite small talk. She'd asked how college was, and he'd asked how her business was doing, but the conversations always fizzled out after a few exchanges. He parked on the side of the road. After Cece got out, she waited for him to come around before they walked to the lounge's entrance together. It was near the end of the year and cold, so business was slow. When Wyatt pushed the door open, Hannah, sitting behind the register, looked up in surprise. She glanced toward the door and, perhaps not recognizing him at first, said, Welcome. Wyatt quickly smiled. Hannah, it's only been a few months. You don't recognize me? When Wyatt stepped under the light, Hannah looked closer and her eyes widened. Wyatt, it's you. Oh my God, you've changed so much since you went to college. Vivian, what are you yelling for? I'm not deaf, came Vivian's familiar voice from the back storeroom. Hannah quickly shouted, Vivian, Wyatt's here. Wyatt, a sound of footsteps followed, and Vivian emerged from the storeroom. Seeing Wyatt, her face mirrored Hannah's shocked expression. My God, Wyatt, you look even more handsome than you did this summer. Wyatt laughed. You noticed, he didn't feel like he'd changed that much, but to people who hadn't seen him in a while, the transformation was significant. It was a total package: his clothes, his hair, his expression, his confidence. Each individual change was small, but together they created an impression of someone completely new. Vivian circled him, tooting. Not bad, not bad. Still the same shameless guy as before. Vivian, my girlfriend's right here. Can you say something nice? Vivian giggled and took Cece's hand. So, you two did get together. I guess that the first time you came in. Come on, sit anywhere. Business is slow, so we can actually chat. I'm so jealous of you two. Vivian led Cece to a table, and Wyatt sat down across from them. Hannah, seeing no other customers, brought over 3 cups of tea and sat down with them, listening with interest. So Wyatt, how's college life? Not bad. Met some goofy friends, became the class president, even started a little business on the side. Hannah looked surprised. A guy like you can be class president? Wyatt was about to explain when Vivian, with the air of an experienced elder, said, Hannah, you don't get it. In college, the thicker your skin, the more successful you'll be. Wyatt casually asked, How come I don't see Emily? She quit. Her family introduced her to a guy, and I think they're getting engaged this new year. Business has been slow this half of the year, so I didn't bother hiring anyone new. Engaged already? Did her family force her? No, the guy's family is well off, and he's not bad-looking. Wyatt nodded, not pressing further. It was common for people who didn't go to college to marry earlier. Emily was at that age. It wasn't worth prying into. Vivian asked, You said you started a little business in college. Yeah. Doing what? Opened a fresh market with my roommates, then started a trading company. It's all partnerships, but I'm the big boss. Vivian looked at him skeptically. Really? Why would I lie about that? So, should I be calling you Boss Wyatt now? I wouldn't be opposed. Look at you, getting all full of yourself. Wyatt pointed to the empty seats around them. Vivian, business here is so bleak. Are you even making any money? Vivian was about to speak, but Hannah jumped in first. We've been losing money for 3 months straight. What? Wyatt was puzzled. If that's the case, why are you still open? The rent here must be pretty high. Vivian sighed. I didn't open this place to make money. It was just to have something to do. For the first 2 years, we broke even made a small profit. But lately, it's just been small losses. You didn't open a business to make money? Vivian, are you crazy? You're the one who's crazy. Vivian hadn't opened the lounge for profit. Without it, her mind would constantly drift to her fiancé, who had died in an accident. It had gotten so bad, she couldn't sleep at night. She'd seen a therapist who suggested she find something she loved to do, and that's how the lounge was born. She wasn't short on money. Her father was a retired high-ranking government official with deep connections, and her brother was the deputy chief of police. That was why a woman like her could run a business so peacefully. She had thought that as long as it didn't lose money, she'd keep it open forever. But 3 consecutive months of losses had made her consider quitting. As a woman facing a big decision, however, she found herself hesitating. A lounge like this targets a young crowd, Wyatt said, his tone turning serious. If you open a place like this near a university, business would probably be great. But Riverwood barely has any colleges. If you keep this up, you'll just lose more and more. Seeing how insightful Wyatt was, Vivian asked, so what do you think I should do now? Cut your losses. Either shut it down completely, or, if you want to stay in business, switch tracks. Switch tracks. Yep. Pick an industry where you can actually make money. Vivian was intrigued. What industry makes money now? You're asking the right person. Wyatt cleared his throat and laid out his theory. In this country, if you want to make money, you sell beauty to women, time to the rich, health to the elderly, education to children, and to men, you sell. Sell what? You sell potency. As soon as he said it, the 3 women sitting around him all shot him a look of disdain. But Vivian thought he had a point. She took a sip of her tea and smiled. You actually sound like you know what you're talking about. So what do you think I should switch to? I think, and this is just my opinion, the adult products industry is going to blow up. If you get in now, you'll most likely make a lot of money. Wyatt wasn't wrong. As times changed, the industry had been on an upward trajectory since 2014, and after 2018, it entered a period of explosive growth. But Vivian's response was swift and firm. I would never do that. Why? Vivian glared at him. Because I have some self-respect. Wyatt was speechless and didn't press the issue. But then Vivian added, I studied fashion design in college. I'm still pretty interested in that. Do you think I can make it in that industry? Then you should combine your passion with what I just said. Make swimsuits or lingerie. You only handle the design and management. You can hire others to do the rest. That sounds interesting. If you decide to do it, I can't invest. Are you serious? Of course I am. Wyatt stood up, pulling Cece up with him. He looked at them with a serious expression. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Wyatt, the head of Investments. And this is my partner, Cecilia Chin. Not only were Vivian and Hannah dumbfounded, but Cece was also completely caught off guard. Investments? When did I become a partner? Wyatt grinned. I was going to try and get by as a normal person around you guys, but then I thought, you're not outsiders. So I might as well just lay my cards on the table. Oh, listen to you, Vivian said, rolling her eyes so far back they nearly disappeared. Wyatt just laughed and sat back down. He didn't tell them about MiHoYo, only that he had ambitions to get into the investment world. Vivian listened, then crossed her legs. I'll have to think about switching careers. I've had this place for so long, I'm kind of attached. It would be a shame to just close it. Hannah chimed in. And if the lounge closes, I'll be unemployed. Nonsense, Vivian quickly added. Even if I change careers, you can still work for me, as long as you don't mind the pay. Hannah laughed happily. The 4 of them chatted until nearly 10 o'clock. Wyatt glanced at his watch. It's getting late. I should take Cece home. I'll come by again when I have time. It's so late. Do you want me to drive you home? Wyatt dangled his car keys. We drove here. All right then. Be safe on the road. Come visit more often. Definitely. Wyatt and Cece left the lounge, walking hand in hand toward the car. Vivian stood at the glass door, a faint smile gracing her often melancholy eyes as she watched their retreating figures. On the way home, Cece asked, Wyatt, how old is Vivian? 34 or 35, I think. Is she not married? Wyatt shook his head and explained she had a fiancé who died in an accident right before they were supposed to get married. I heard it from Hannah, so don't tell anyone else. It hit her really hard. No wonder. No wonder what? She just has this look about her, Cece said, like she's carrying a lot of stories. Encounter's Music Lounge had been open for many years, which meant Vivian was only in her 20s when she was with her fiancé. After all this time, she still hadn't gotten over it. It had become a source of deep pain. It meant their love must have been incredibly strong, their story rich and full. The car was quiet for a moment. Then, Wyatt asked with a half-smile, "If something happened to me one day, would you—" Before he could finish, Cece covered his mouth with her small hand. She looked at him with a fierce expression and warned, "Don't say things like that." Thursday was the Little New Year in the South, a prelude to the main event. In many places, there was a saying, "On Little New Year, you discipline the kids." The idea was to give them a little scare so they wouldn't use foul or unlucky language during the actual New Year celebration. In the Wyatt household, however, this day was for spring cleaning. After his morning run with Leo, Wyatt returned home to join the family in a full-scale cleaning operation. They worked all morning. After lunch, Wyatt retreated to his room. He had messages from Sam and Chris saying that the final exam grades were already available online. Neither of them had failed any classes, and they were curious how Wyatt had done. Wyatt opened the university app, logged into his account, and found the grade portal. At the same time, Alex was also holding his phone, preparing to check his grades. But their approaches were completely different. Wyatt casually clicked the link, while Alex placed his phone on his pillow, bowed respectfully to it 3 times, and only then cautiously tapped the query button. The grades appeared on Wyatt's screen. They were all fairly average, mostly in the 65 to 70 range. He screenshotted the page and sent it to the dorm group chat. "At all 3 of you, I passed everything. Chris, congrats. Sam, congrats." In high school, a C average would have been looked down upon, but in college, passing every class was enough to satisfy most people. Why did Alex? No way, no way. Did someone actually fail final in college? Chris immediately copied and pasted Wyatt's message into the chat. A few minutes later, Alex finally surfaced. "Alex, thank God. Every single one was a close call, but I passed. Holy crap, I got exactly a 60 in statistics. I owe that professor my life." It was a well-known fact that if you got exactly a 60 on a college final, it was likely the professor had taken pity on you. "Chris, you're so lucky." "Wyatt, now you can have a happy new year." "Chris, what are you guys doing for the break?" "Alex, cultivating an online relationship." "Sam, studying ahead for next semester's calculus." "Wyatt, cultivating my relationship with my girlfriend." "Chris, I'm so jealous of you guys. I have to work during winter break." "Wyatt, work? Doing what?" "Chris, collecting rent." "Alex, collecting rent counts as work." "Chris, one building has over 40 units. I have to go door to door and check the water and electricity meters. Do you have any idea how tiring that is?" "Alex, get the hell out of here." "Alex, I despise people like you the most." "Chris, red envelope Alex. Bro, can you ask Dad if he's looking to adopt another son?" While the guy's dorm chat was buzzing, Cece's dorm chat was also active. "Ashley, break is so boring." "Sophie, New Year is almost here." "Ashley, New Year is boring too. The older you get, the less fun it is." "Ashley, don't you guys think so?" "Cece, it's okay." "Sophie, I think it's okay too." "Ashley, of course it's okay for you too. One of you has Wyatt, and the other has Leo to talk to all day." "Isabel. Image, Isabel. I'm out shopping. Help me decide if this outfit looks good." "Ashley, isn't it too cold for winter?" "Sophie, I think you'd have to wear boots with that, right?" "Isabel, haha, I was thinking boots too." "Wyatt, not just boots. You need a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and a pointer stick in your hand. Then it will be perfect." "Isabel, how do we summon you, you little pervert?" "Wyatt, I'll go back to lurking then." "Isabel, no, don't. When are you and Cece coming back to school?" "Wyatt, probably after the 10th, but before the 15th. I haven't bought tickets yet." "Isabel, I want to go back to school early too." "Ashley, you live so close, you're not even going to be home for the Lantern Festival?" "Isabel, nah. My parents are probably leaving for Australia before the festival." "Cece, so early? Will the dorms even be open?" "Isabel, if they're not, you can come stay at my place." "Wyatt, what about me?" "Isabel, you and Cece can share a room. How about that?" "Wyatt, if there's really no other option, I suppose it's not out of the question." "Isabel, get lost. You can sleep in the doghouse." Cece/thumbs up emoji. "Isabel, can't talk anymore. My stomach is starting to hurt. I think my period's coming. I have to go." "Cece, drink lots of hot water." "Sophie, stay warm." "Ashley, hugs." "Isabel, it's no use. It's the same old story every month." "Wyatt, okay." "Wyatt, what do you see?" Isabel, a lot of whys. Why, exactly. Why do you feel bad? See? You feel better now. Isabel, Wyatt, you son of a bitch. Ashley. Ah. Sophie, haha. CC/giggle, emoji. As the new year approached, the advantages of living in a small city became apparent. The number of people on the streets had multiplied several times over, and vendors selling all sorts of festive goods lined the roadsides. The atmosphere was thick with holiday spirit, a sight you would never see in NYC. On Saturday, Valentine's Day, Wyatt was about to head to Maple Creek Estates after dinner when his mom, Sarah, piped up from the couch with a hint of sarcasm. Sigh, some people get a girlfriend and forget all about their old mother. Wyatt immediately sat down next to her. Mom, that's not fair. If you don't want me to go out, I won't. But do you know what date is today? What day? Wyatt nudged his dad with his foot. Dad, you tell her. David chuckled. It's Valentine's Day. Sarah's tune changed instantly. She nudged Wyatt. Well, what are you still sitting here for? Go on your date. I'm not going. Wyatt pretended to be pouty. You just said I forgot about my mom for my girlfriend. I'm not that kind of person. Sarah slapped his shoulder playfully, laughing. Can't you take a joke? Get out of here, so you're not jealous anymore. Get lost. Wyatt stood up with a grin and clapped his dad on the shoulder. Dad, I'll be home late tonight. You two enjoy your date night. You little punk. David lifted his foot as if to kick Wyatt, but Wyatt dodged and ran out the door. Once Wyatt was gone, David scooted closer to Sarah on the couch and said ingratiatingly, Honey, why don't we go out for a walk today? A walk? What's there to walk around for? You've been complaining about your back hurting lately. I can take you to a massage place I know. Is it expensive? Not at all, David said proudly. I'm a regular. The next second, Sarah had his ear in her grip. A regular? Are you? Looks like you go there often. I was wondering why money kept disappearing from my purse every now and then. So you've been taking it for massages. Honey, ouch, that hurts. Wyatt drove to pick up Cece, then swung by Riley's house to get her too. The hospital had few holidays, so the girl was often home alone. Wyatt and Cece had discussed it and decided to take her shopping with them for the afternoon and drop her off in the evening. But the moment she got in the car, Riley's mouth started going like a machine gun, rat-a-tat-tat, without stopping. Wyatt ignored her, but Cece seemed to quite like her little 6 years younger sister figure. She answered almost all of her questions. A few days ago, when Wyatt had brought Riley to Maple Creek Estates, Cece had even given her a bunch of little gifts that girls love. Music boxes, glass snow globes, and the like. They were all gifts from Miranda's colleagues or subordinates that Cece had no interest in. But Riley had been over the moon, and since then, she'd been texting Wyatt every day, asking when he could take her to see her Cece again. Wyatt found it baffling. When did she become your Cece? She's clearly mine. After a 20-minute drive, he brought them to an old downtown promenade. Since several large indoor malls have been built in the city, the old street was no longer as bustling as it once was. But if you were looking for the place with the most holiday spirit, this was definitely it. After parking, Wyatt took Cece's hand and they walked toward the entrance, with Riley holding Cece's other arm. It was peak time on the promenade, and they could already smell the aroma of various roasted nuts and snacks. Cece, do you like chestnuts? The roasted chestnuts over there are delicious. I have to eat them several times every new year. You want some? A little. Cece smiled. Then let's go buy some and try them. In the past, he let her pay because he was broke. Now that he had money, Wyatt certainly wasn't going to let Cece foot the bill. After the vendor weighed them, Wyatt dutifully stepped up and paid. And then, Cece, look, they have candied hawthorns. Cece, the egg tarts at that shop are amazing. Cece. Wyatt, already carrying a handful of bags, finally had enough. He walked over and covered Riley's mouth. Threateningly, he whispered, If you do that one more time, I'm never taking you out with us again. Riley looked at him with puppy dog eyes and blinked rapidly until he let her go. Cece immediately pushed Wyatt away and took Riley's arm. How much money has she even cost you for you to say something like that? It's not about the money. The point is, we can't eat all of this. It's a waste. Cece said, I can take it home for my mom to try. I'm sure she's never had anything from here. Wyatt's expression changed in an instant. He smiled brightly. These are all your leftovers. If you want your mom to try some, I'll go buy a fresh batch later. Wyatt, you're so biased. Adults are talking. Children should be quiet. Riley pouted, looking aggrieved. Wyatt didn't care. She was his cousin. He could tease her all he wanted, but his mother-in-law was someone who still needed to be won over. The three of them wandered the promenade for over 2 hours, then went to look at the scenery by the lake. At 5 p.m, Wyatt got a call from his aunt saying she was off work and he should bring Riley home. Wyatt said it was fine if it was later, but his aunt had likely already spoken to his mom and knew he and Cece were on a date. And since it was Valentine's Day, she made an excuse, saying she was taking Riley out to dinner and he should bring her back soon. Since his aunt put it that way, Wyatt had no choice but to take Riley home first. The girl didn't seem to mind. She knew it was Valentine's Day. As she got out of the car, she even gave Wyatt a go-get-him gesture, which made him laugh. After dropping Riley off, Wyatt and Cece set off to find a place for dinner. Have you thought about what you want to eat tonight? Not really. Cece shook her head. I'll follow your lead. Following my lead again, Wyatt said with a wicked grin. Have you noticed you're starting to depend on me? I am not. Cece turned to look out the window, her cheeks flushing, though whether it was from the car's heater or something else was anyone's guess. Wyatt deliberately chose a restaurant that looked rather upscale. Its name was an English word, and the interior was stylish and atmospheric. He led Cece inside. The tables were separated by decorative screens. The lighting was professionally designed, and soft piano music drifted from speakers in the corners, creating a very romantic ambience. After ordering, Wyatt handed the menu back to the waiter. Seeing Cece playing on her phone across from him, he asked with a smile, Cece, do you know what date it is today? Of course she knew. She had noticed weeks ago that Valentine's Day fell before the New Year this year, but she deliberately shook her head, feigning ignorance. I don't know. Stop playing on your phone. I'm going to show you a magic trick. Under the table, Wyatt lit a small magic wand. When Cece looked up, she saw him holding a small, burning stick. Wyatt extended it toward her. Blow on it. Though she didn't know what he was up to, Cece leaned forward cooperatively and blew gently. At that exact moment, Wyatt's other hand swiped over the wand, and a vibrant red rose appeared in its place. Cece blinked, a little surprised. For you. He passed the rose to her. Cece took it with a smile. After examining it for a few seconds, she figured out how the trick worked. Wyatt then explained, it's Valentine's Day. I wanted to buy you a bouquet, but your mom's home today, and I knew you'd be too embarrassed to bring it inside. If you want real flowers, I can buy you some later. No, Cece said quickly. This is perfect. In past years, did you and your mom have New Year's Eve dinner at home or at a hotel? Usually at home. Just the two of you. Cece nodded. She tucked the rose into her purse. New Year's Eve at my house is no different from any other night. My mom and I are usually asleep by 10. You don't stay up to welcome the new year? Cece shook her head gently. Seeing her mood dip, Wyatt quickly changed the subject with a laugh. Well, don't go to bed so early this year. Stay up with me. Don't you have to stay up with your parents? I could spend the first half of the night at my house and the second half at yours, Wyatt said with a grin. Anyway, I've been to your place so many times now. It feels like my own home, huh? Hearing his shameless words, Cece just shot him a look but didn't say anything more. Once the food arrived, they chatted about everyday things as they ate. Halfway through the meal, Wyatt got up to use the restroom. On his way back, he casually scanned the restaurant, and his eyes fell on a very familiar figure. It was none other than Cece's father, Charles. Wyatt froze. He was about to go over and say hello when he took a couple more steps and saw that Charles was sitting across from someone else, a woman. Wyatt quickly retreated, his mind racing as he sat back down across from Cece. Even though Charles and Miranda bickered every time they met, Wyatt had long since seen that they still had feelings for each other. He had even thought about playing matchmaker if his father-in-law played his cards right. But what was this? Was his father-in-law moving on? Cece noticed Wyatt staring into space. She frowned. What's wrong? In nothing, Wyatt stammered, picking up his chopsticks again. He decided it was best not to tell Cece until he knew the whole story. And meanwhile, at the other table, Charles and the woman sitting across from him were getting to the point. Charles, how long has it been since you and your ex-wife divorced? Over 5 years. The woman was direct and capable. Charles, I asked you out today because I wanted to ask you a question. We're not young anymore, so I don't want to beat around the bush. You know my situation. You've been divorced for over 5 years, and my husband passed away over 3 years ago. Since we're both single now, I was wondering if there's a possibility for us to build a new family together. Charles seemed to have anticipated this. He listened calmly, and after a moment of silence, he replied, Ms. Sue, I'm sorry, but I can't agree to that. Why? Do you have some reservations? I still have a daughter. From what I know, your daughter has always lived with your ex-wife, and she's already in college. Charles was surprised she knew so much, and he was momentarily at a loss for words. The woman seemed to sense something. She asked tentatively, So, you still have a place for your ex-wife in your heart, is that right? Charles nodded honestly. The woman didn't make a scene like in a TV drama. She smiled gracefully. Then I was being presumptuous. Just pretend I never said anything. Charles smiled back. But the food at this restaurant is quite good. Can you at least let me finish my meal before you kick me out? The woman laughed, and the conversation quickly moved on to other topics. After dinner, Wyatt and Cece left the restaurant. Because of the screens separating the tables, Cece never saw her father. Wyatt drove back to Maple Creek Estates, his mind distracted the entire way. When they arrived at her house, Cece asked, "What are you thinking about?" "And nothing." "Yes, you are." Cece's large eyes stared straight at him, as if she could see right through him. Wyatt scratched his head and said with a sly grin, "Well, it's Valentine's Day. The whole drive, I was trying to figure out how to trick you into letting me kiss you. It would be a shame to go home without one." "You jerk." Cece turned to open the door, but Wyatt had already locked it. She tried the handle and, finding it wouldn't open, demanded, "Open the door. I want to get out. One kiss and I'll let you out." "No, wait. Then I'm not opening the door. I'll scream." "Are you silly? You can scream as loud as you want in here. No one outside will hear you." Cece was just bluffing. She would never dare to actually scream. He might be shameless, but she had a reputation to maintain. "Fine, don't get out. Let's see who can outlast who," Cece said, deciding to play his game. Wyatt reached for her hand, but she twisted away, hugging her arms to her chest to stop him. Isabel had told her that dating had steps. First holding hands, then hugging, then kissing, and then... Cece told herself she couldn't just give in to his every whim, or the rascal would only push for more. Wyatt had no choice but to surrender. "All right, you win. The door is unlocked. You can get out." Cece opened the door and put one foot on the ground. She glanced back and saw Wyatt sitting in the car with a dejected look on his face. She hesitated for a moment, then turned back. "Close your eyes." "Why? Just close them." Wyatt obediently closed his eyes. Cece looked around to make sure no one was watching. Then, as fast as she could, she dove back into the car, planted a light, dragonfly-like kiss on his cheek, and immediately jumped out, slamming the door behind her and running into her yard. By the time Wyatt opened his eyes, she was gone. The spot on his cheek felt cool, and if he looked closely in the rearview mirror, he could faintly see the imprint of her lips. He buckled his seatbelt, then pulled out his phone and sent a text to Charles. "Uncle Charles, I saw you having dinner with a woman tonight when I was out with Cece." "Uncle Charles, you wouldn't want Aunt Miranda to find out about this, right?" Wyatt fired off the 2 texts and drove home. The second he walked in the door and checked his phone, he saw a flood of messages, 7 or 8 in a row from Charles. "Charles. Charles, you saw me? Charles, does Cece know? Charles, I'm telling you it's not what you think. Charles, she's a major client. She asked me to dinner. We ate and went our separate ways. Charles, wait. Why am I explaining myself to you? Charles, don't you dare say a word. Don't let them know. Charles, kid, where are you?" Wyatt had never seen Charles this worked up. Usually, their chats were short, mostly just Charles asking about Cece before abruptly ending the conversation. Wyatt went to his room and typed out a reply. Cece didn't see. "It was just me." Miles away, Charles heard his phone buzz and snatched it up. He read Wyatt's message and let out a long sigh of relief, his fingers fumbling as he typed back. "Don't let them know about this." "Wyatt, what if it slips out?" "Charles, are you threatening me?" "Wyatt, no. Just saying. What if?" "Wyatt, but let's be real, it's Valentine's Day. You, out to dinner with another woman. Not a great look." "Charles, I called your Aunt Miranda. She said she wasn't home tonight." "Wyatt, she is home." "Charles, then why would she tell me she wasn't?" "Wyatt, means she's still mad at you, obviously." "Wyatt, if you want to know if she's home, you could just ask Cece." "Charles, even if I went over, she'd just kick me out." "Wyatt, she always says that, but does she ever actually follow through?" "Wyatt, Charles, do you even want to get back together with Aunt Miranda or not?" When Charles didn't reply, for a long moment, Wyatt decided to push him. "How about this? You go buy a bouquet of flowers and head over there right now. Otherwise, I'm telling Aunt Miranda and Cece all about your little dinner date tonight." "Charles, impossible." "Charles, your aunt would definitely throw the flowers straight into the trash." Wyatt felt a surge of exasperation. His future father-in-law was a hopeless case. He quickly typed, "Then don't say they're for her. Say you bought them for Cece. It's Valentine's Day. Aunt Miranda isn't stupid. Even if you say they're for Cece, she'll know who they're really for." "Wyatt, Charles, even though Cece doesn't talk to me about you and her mom, I know she wants you two to be together." "Wyatt, it's 7:25 now. I'm texting Cece at 8:00. If you're not over there by then, I'm telling them everything. And I mean it." Wyatt had eaten with them a few times. If there was truly nothing left between them, Charles wouldn't keep finding excuses to stay for dinner, and Miranda would never let him. The truth was they were both stuck, unable to get past their own pride. Miranda likely still held a grudge for whatever happened before the divorce, and Charles being a proud man, couldn't bring himself to be vulnerable. For two people like them to have stayed single this long after a divorce, with plenty of other options available, it could only mean one thing. They couldn't let each other go. Wyatt's last message was a calculated push, giving Charles the excuse and opportunity he secretly wanted. Charles put his phone down and sat on the sofa, lost in thought. After a long while, he picked it up again, rereading Wyatt's last few messages. He shot up from the couch, grabbed his car keys, and headed for Maple Creek Estates. His two-bedroom apartment was only a 15-minute drive from their neighborhood. He could have afforded a much better place, but he'd settled for this one specifically because it was close. He stopped on the way to buy a bouquet of roses. As he placed them on the passenger seat, he felt a strange sense of déjà vu. He couldn't remember the last time he'd bought flowers for Miranda. The entire drive over, his heart was pounding. He rehearsed what he would say over and over in his head, but nothing sounded right. Before he knew it, he was pulling into Maple Creek Estates. He saw the lights on in the living room, and with a deep breath, he got out of the car, walked to the front door, and rang the bell twice. A moment later, the door opened. Miranda, who was halfway through her dinner, was visibly surprised to see Charles standing there. The shock quickly faded, replaced by her usual frosty demeanor. "What are you doing here? You said you weren't going to be home today. I asked what you're doing here." "I came to see Cece," Charles said. A father visiting his daughter was perfectly reasonable, and Miranda had no grounds to keep him at the door. Still, she didn't offer him slippers like she did for Wyatt. Charles found a pair himself, put them on, and walked inside, bouquet in hand. Only then did Miranda notice the flowers. Cece was still sitting on the couch and hadn't gone upstairs. When she saw the flowers in her father's hands, her eyes lit up. Just then her phone buzzed. It was a message from Wyatt. "Wyatt, did your dad show up?" Cece quickly typed back 3 question marks, followed by, "How did you know?" Wyatt sent a smiley face and said nothing more. Charles glanced at Miranda, then at Cece. He walked over to the sofa and placed the roses on the coffee table. Miranda acted as if she hadn't seen them and continued eating. The atmosphere was thick with awkwardness. Charles sat down and tried to start a conversation. "Cece, did that little brat, Wyatt come see you today?" "I just got home a little while ago," Cece replied. Hearing that, Charles knew Wyatt hadn't been lying. He really had seen him at the restaurant. Thank God the kid had kept his mouth shut, or he'd never be able to explain his way out of this. "Lunar New Year's Eve is almost here," Charles continued. "Is there anything special you want to eat? Dad can get it ready for you." As he said this, he snuck a glance at Miranda. The question was for Cece, but it was also a way to test the waters with her mother. Although Miranda had already agreed to let him come over for the holiday dinner, he was afraid she'd change her mind. Cece just shook her head gently. "Anything is fine." Charles gathered his courage. "Miranda," he said, "I've seen other families do hot pot for the new year. What if we did that this year?" It had been a long time since Miranda had heard him call her Miranda. She felt something was off about him from the moment he walked in. She looked up at him, then at Cece, who was also watching her, and finally at the roses on the table. The sharp retort she was about to make died on her lips. Instead, she said, "Fine, as long as you're the one who makes it." A wave of joyous excitement washed over Charles. "No problem." A small smile played on Cece's lips. Charles left after less than an hour. The moment he was gone, Cece rushed upstairs and sent Wyatt a video call request. Wyatt, lying in bed, answered the call. Cece's delicate face filled his screen, her voice bubbling with excitement. "How did you know my dad was coming over tonight?" Wyatt began. "Come on, tell me," she urged. To protect Charles's secret, Wyatt spun another white lie. "I ran into your dad on my way home. He told me he'd called your mom, and she'd said she wasn't home. I just told him that she actually was. From the look on his face, I figured he might head over, so I just asked you." "Oh, so that's what happened." Cece didn't suspect a thing. She smiled. "I have to tell you, my dad did something crazy today. He actually bought my mom a bouquet of flowers. And your mom didn't throw them in the trash. Nope, my dad didn't dare give them to her directly, so he just left them on the coffee table. I'm telling you, I've never seen my dad give my mom flowers before. That's all thanks to me," Wyatt thought, but he just chuckled and said, "You don't think he wants to get back together with your mom, do you?" Cece's eyes lit up. "Really? You think so too?" From her reaction, Wyatt knew he was right. Cece had always wanted her parents to reconcile. They hadn't divorced over some unforgivable sin, but because they couldn't balance their careers and family life. The only real victim in their separation was Cece. She had always longed for her family to be whole again, but she was never good at expressing herself and didn't know how to mend her parents' broken relationship. Luckily, Wyatt had appeared. "Text your dad right now," Wyatt instructed. "Tell him your mom really loved the flowers." "What? If you want them to get back together, just do what I say," Wyatt said with a smile. Cece was skeptical. Are you sure this will work? If you do as I say, there shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'll text him now. Without hanging up the video call, Cece switched to her messaging app and texted Charles. Mom really likes the roses you brought. Charles had just gotten to his apartment building. He heard his phone buzz, pulled it out, and his heart leaped when he saw the message from his daughter. He typed back excitedly, Really? Your mom really liked them? Cece, yes. Charles knew his daughter wouldn't lie to him. A wide, childish grin spread across his face, and his steps felt lighter as he walked. Seeing Cece smile, Wyatt asked, Did your dad reply? He did. It seems like he really cares what my mom thinks. You should create more opportunities for them to see each other. They're both usually busy with work, but with the holiday coming up, they have time. You should try to get them to see each other every day. How do I do that? Cece asked. Wyatt smiled. Were those candied chestnuts from the downtown promenade good today? Delicious. Tomorrow, have your dad buy 2 bags and bring them over. Okay. Cece, yeah. If I get your parents back together, how are you going to reward me? Cece guessed what he was about to say. She shook her head, laughing. I'm not listening, not listening. For the next few days, Wyatt stayed away from Maple Creek Estates. He didn't want to get in the way of Charles and Miranda, and besides, his dad had brought his grandparent from the countryside to stay for the holiday. The old couple hadn't seen Wyatt in over 6 months and missed him terribly, calling him their precious darling. Wyatt wanted to spend time with them. The day before Lunar New Year's Eve, Wyatt finally drove over to Maple Creek Estates to drop off the Lexus minivan. While Charles and Miranda both had cars, the minivan was more convenient for big shopping trips. Besides, Wyatt was planning to buy his own car after the holiday anyway. The days at home flew by. In a blink, it was Lunar New Year's Eve. That morning, the whole family was busy preparing a big meal. Wyatt tried to help, but after making a couple of misshapen dishes, his mom, Sarah, shooed him away. Wyatt sat on the couch and texted Cece. What are you up to? Cece, my mom and I are at the supermarket. Wyatt, and your dad? Cece, he's here too. Wyatt, you guys are having a family reunion dinner tonight? Cece, MHM. Cece, what are you doing? Wyatt, I was trying to help with dinner, but my mom kicked me out for being bad at it. Cece, what about this afternoon? Wyatt, not much, just have to hang some decorations. Cece, oh okay. Wyatt, well you guys have fun shopping. I'll text you later. Cece, okay, that afternoon, as Wyatt hung decorations, kids in the neighborhood were already playing with poppets on the street below. Bored, Wyatt went downstairs and managed to charm a handful of the firecrackers away from them. A chubby little boy, seeing his stash depleted by Wyatt, looked like he was about to cry. Wyatt quickly panicked, pulled a $5 bill from his pocket, and gave it to the boy to buy more. The kid took the money and ran off, his pants half falling down, revealing one of his butt cheeks. Wyatt laughed, tossed the last 2 poppets on the ground, and headed back upstairs. In the kitchen, Sarah was still in charge, with Grandma acting as her sous chef. Grandpa and David were on the sofa, deep in a discussion about U.S. Russia relations. Around 5 o'clock, the sound of firecrackers began to pop sporadically. As dusk fell, the pops became a continuous, celebratory roar. David, clear the table. We're about to eat. Got it. In no time, the dining table was laden with all sorts of dishes. As he ate, Wyatt pulled out his phone and started sending holiday messages to his friends. Many replied instantly, though most of the messages were generic holiday greetings. After he was done, he gave Leo a voice call. He was also in the middle of his family dinner. He answered on the first ring. Wyatt, you coming over to my place for cards tonight? How are we supposed to play with just the 2 of us? I'll call my cousin over. Maybe next time. I'm busy tonight. Say Happy New Year to your parents for me. You're on speaker. They can hear you. Wyatt, come visit sometime. Wyatt heard Leo's mom in the background. He exchanged a few pleasantries and wished them a Happy New Year before hanging up. The TV was on. This is the live broadcast of the 2015 CCTV Spring Festival Gala, with thanks to the people of all ethnicities across the nation. Son, check how many comedy skits are on this year. See if Steve Martin is in any of them. Definitely not, but I think Kevin Hart is. He's a stand-up comedian, right? Yeah, and maybe Will Ferrell is on. I can't remember. There will definitely be a performance of Happy. There is, but I think they rearranged it. Without Steve Martin, the New Year's special just isn't as fun anymore. It's only going to get less interesting from here on out. What was that, son? Nothing. Wyatt had little interest in the big New Year's TV specials. He used to look forward to the comedy sketches, but ever since legendary comedians like Steve Martin had stepped back, the new ones all followed the same tired formula. A funny first half, a sappy second half, and a bunch of cringeworthy jokes from the past year. While his family watched the show, Wyatt was busy in his group chats, sending out Venmo payments. He started with the company chat, sending out a few $100s in total. Jessica, Ruby, and Megan were scrambling to claim the money. After chatting with them for a bit, he sent a few smaller, symbolic payments in the class group me. Later, seeing Isabel and Ashley chatting, he dropped a $50 payment into their dorm room group chat. Isabel/thanks boss sticker. Ashley, thanks boss Wyatt. Sophie, so generous boss Wyatt. Cece, they got so much and I only got a few bucks. Wyatt at Cece, I'll send you a private one later. Isabel, ugh, you two are no fun. Making us watch you flirt on a holiday. Sophie, are you all watching the New Year's special? Isabel, nope, what's there to watch? I'm playing Mahjong with my mom and a few of my aunts. When the chat went quiet, Wyatt figured everyone had gotten busy with their own family things. He put his phone away and went to make himself a strong cup of tea. At Maple Creek Estates, for the first time in 6 years, Cece was having Lunar New Year's Eve dinner with both Charles and Miranda. In previous years, there were only ever two of them at the table. The fireworks exploding outside only made the house feel emptier. But this year was different. Even with just one more person, for Cece, the family felt complete. Halfway through dinner, Cece even cheekily asked for her lucky money. Charles, in high spirits, boomed, Of course. You'll get it, but Dad didn't bring any cash today. Can I pay you tomorrow? Cece even joked back, That'll cost you interest, haha, no problem. Seeing the smile on Cece's face, Miranda felt a wave of nostalgia. The knot of resentment in her heart loosened a little. She came back to herself and was about to put some food on Cece's plate when she noticed Charles watching her. She kicked him under the table. Go get the pork rib soup from the pot and add it to the hot pot. Charles practically skipped into the kitchen. After dinner, the three of them sat on the couch to watch the TV special. Cece wasn't interested and kept glancing at her phone. Miranda had noticed all her little movements. She found it strange. A smart kid like Wyatt should have called to wish them a happy new year. It was already past 11, and there hadn't been a single call or even a text. At that very moment, Wyatt chugged the last of his tea, walked over to his dad, and held out his hand for the keys to the Honda Accord. David looked confused. What do you need the car keys for? I'm going to wish my future mother-in-law a happy new year. Before David could respond, Sarah cut in. Give them to him. Give them to him. That boy's heart hasn't been here for a long time. Wyatt cupped his mom's face and planted a kiss on her forehead. Don't worry, Mom, he said with a grin. You know I'll always love you the most. Sarah wiped her forehead with a look of mock disgust and slapped him playfully on the butt. Get out of here. On my way. Be careful on the road. Don't worry. There's hardly any traffic on New Year's Eve. Wyatt swapped his shoes and jogged downstairs, starting up his dad's Honda and driving straight to Maple Creek Estates. When he got to the gate, he sent Cece a quick text. In the living room, Cece saw the message, jumped up, and ran out the door. Seeing her excitement, Miranda immediately guessed Wyatt had arrived. She was a little surprised. It was New Year's Eve, after all. She hadn't expected him to come over so close to midnight. When Cece saw Wyatt, she ran to him, her voice filled with a happy lilt. I thought you weren't coming. No way. When have I ever broken a promise to you? Come on, let's go say hi to your mom. Wyatt reached for Cece's hand, but she dodged him. She stepped back, looking up at him with wide, bashful eyes. Wyatt laughed. Still shy? Cece nodded vigorously. Fine, then let's go in together. Cece quickly fell into step beside him, and they walked back into the living room. As expected, Charles was still there. Wyatt, you're here. Yep. Wyatt, completely shameless, walked up to Miranda, bowed a full 90 degrees, and said with a cheerful smile, Aunt Miranda, I hope the new year brings you peace, happiness, and a lot of laughter. After speaking, he cheekily held out his hands. Charles was baffled. What are you doing? I'm here for my lucky money, Wyatt declared. I'd like to know if there's anyone your age more shameless than you, Charles said, exasperated. Coming to someone's house on New Year's Eve and demanding lucky money. Just as Wyatt was about to retort, Miranda patted his hands and cut in with a smile. Wyatt, don't listen to him. I'll go get your red envelope right now. Auntie, just a small one is fine. A few moments later, Miranda came downstairs with 2 red envelopes. She handed one to Wyatt and one to Cece. Your mom let you come out on New Year's Eve? Miranda asked playfully. Of course. When I said I was coming to see you, she practically wanted to sweep me out the door. Your mom knows about you and Cece. She's known for a while. Miranda looked up. Cece, have you been to Wyatt's house? Cece was too shy to answer. Wyatt jumped in to explain. She's too embarrassed to go. Anyway, it's still early. No rush. Charles was fuming. Seeing the look on Miranda's face, it was as if she couldn't wait to send her daughter off to another family. He wanted to say something sharp, but he remembered Miranda hadn't yelled at him all day. If he angered her now, he'd surely get the cold shoulder next time. So, he just glared at Wyatt, trying to warn him with his eyes. But Wyatt completely ignored his threat, his expression practically saying, "Charles, you don't really think you rank higher than me in this house, do you?" As they joked around, the TV special was drawing to a close. When the clock struck 12, the sky above the entire city erupted in countless fireworks. Wyatt turned to look out the window, then grabbed Cecil's hand. "Come on," he said with a smile. "Let's go watch the fireworks." Just like that, right in front of Miranda and Charles, Wyatt led her away. At that moment, from any open space in the city, you could look up and see a tapestry of colorful fireworks weaving across the night sky, painting it like a magnificent ink wash masterpiece. Cece looked up, a smile on her face. "It's so beautiful." Wyatt squeezed her hand, turning to look at her profile. He smiled too. "No fireworks are as beautiful as you." Cece took a step to the right, pressing close against Wyatt's side. Inside the living room, Charles got up and walked to the window, watching Wyatt and Cece by the gate. For some reason, seeing them standing there holding hands, he found the scene surprisingly harmonious. Miranda rose and joined him. As she gazed at the two of them, a faint smile appeared on her still beautiful face. Charles glanced down at her, and his heart skipped a beat. "Happy New Year." "Happy New Year to you, too." Wyatt lifted his wrist to check the time. "It's getting late. I have to be up early tomorrow, so I'm going to head back soon. I'll come by again when I have time." Cece nodded. She reached out and quietly slipped the red envelope Miranda had given her into Wyatt's hand. Wyatt looked confused. "What are you giving this to me for?" "To buy your car," Cece whispered. "I have money. If you use my money, then part of the car is mine." Wyatt laughed and took the envelope. "Even if you didn't give me any money, the car would still have a part of you in it." They stood by the gate, talking softly for a while. Despite the cups of strong tea he'd had at home, Wyatt felt a wave of sleepiness wash over him. He covered a yawn and turned to go back inside to say goodbye to Miranda, but he saw her and Charles standing shoulder to shoulder at the window. He simply waved, making a gesture that he was leaving. When he saw Miranda nod, he whispered goodnight to Cece and drove off. After watching the Honda Accord disappear from sight, Cece turned and went back inside. Just then, Charles's phone buzzed. He pulled it out and saw a message from Wyatt. It was just 5 simple words: "Slow and steady wins the race." At first, Charles didn't get it, but after a moment's thought, he understood what Wyatt meant. He quickly found an excuse. "Well, you two get some rest. I'm heading out." Miranda, to her own surprise, heard herself say, "Drive safe." A goofy, ear-to-ear grin spread across Charles's face. After Lunar New Year's Eve, on the second day of the new year, it was tradition for every family to visit the maternal grandmother's home. Wyatt was still asleep when his mom, Sarah, dragged him out of bed. After a quick bowl of dumplings, the family headed to the countryside. Before they even entered the courtyard, Wyatt could hear his Aunt Susan and Cousin Riley's voices. His grandparents had 3 daughters. Besides Sarah and Susan, there was a second aunt who had married and moved to a city a few hours away, like Philadelphia. She was so far away she rarely made it back more than once a year, but Wyatt had fond memories of her always buying him snacks when he was a kid. "Grandma, Grandpa, Happy New Year, Wyatt's here." The older generation had a bit of a traditional preference for grandsons. Since Susan and her husband only had one daughter, and the second aunt's son and daughter lived far away and weren't close, Wyatt had naturally become the treasured grandson. The moment he walked into the courtyard, his grandparents practically emptied the house of all its snacks for him. Someone had told them about Wyatt's new girlfriend, and his grandmother was particularly curious, peppering him with questions, practically hoping he'd get married tomorrow. Wyatt could only offer vague, polite answers. The weather was beautiful. By mid-morning, the sun was warming the courtyard. Wyatt's uncle, having sat for a while, started yawning. Sarah and Susan were already in the kitchen preparing lunch. Seeing David and her husband, Wong, sitting leisurely in the sun, Susan started to complain. Why is it that men are physically incapable of seeing housework? They don't do a single thing all day. Her husband immediately protested, appealing to his in-laws. "Mom, Dad, you be the judge. We went to bed after 1 last night, and I was up before 8 this morning driving for over an hour to get here. The second I sit down, she accuses me of doing nothing but sleeping. Is that fair?" Wyatt couldn't help but laugh. The group chatted animatedly, and for the first time in a while, Wyatt felt the lively, warm chaos of a large family gathering. The first few days of the new year passed quickly, a blur of visiting relatives or having them visit. It wasn't until the 5th day that Wyatt finally had a chance to call Leo. They met at the entrance of their neighborhood. "What did you call me out for?" Leo asked as he walked up. "Going to the dealership to look at cars." "You're buying a car?" "Yep." Wyatt shrugged nonchalantly. It's been the plan for a while. Let's try to drive it home today. What kind of car are you getting? Just a commuter car, something around 18 grand. You getting a loan? Of course not, full payment. Who gets a loan for a car like this? You son of a bitch. I knew you struck it rich last year. Wyatt hailed a taxi. After he told the driver they were going car shopping, the driver headed straight for the area where all the dealerships were clustered together. Oh, right, Leo said, turning in his seat. I ran into Chloe on the street the other day. She was with her little brother. Wyatt rolled his eyes. I blocked her ages ago. Why are you telling me this? She's changed a lot. She dresses really mature now and wears a ton of makeup. Doesn't look like she's 18 or 19 at all. She's a user, Wyatt said, then added, if she fell into a vat of acid, the acid would come out cleaner. Damn, your mouth is more toxic than a viper. Believe what you want. The main car dealerships in Riverwood were all in one area, making test drives convenient. For a car in the sub-$20,000 range, the options weren't vast. The VW Jetta and Nissan Sentra sold well, but were a bit stodgy for a young guy. Then there are the Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and Mazda 3, all popular with younger buyers. Since he had the day free, Wyatt decided to test drive one from each brand to see which fit him best. They went to the Honda, Toyota, Mazda, and Volkswagen dealerships. After driving them all, Wyatt felt the Mazda 3 was the best fit. He asked for the price, and after a bit of haggling, he swiped his card and paid in full. With a temporary plate and all the paperwork done, Wyatt drove the car off the lot as evening approached. Leo looked even more excited than Wyatt. Damn, a new car feels amazing. The smell is a little strong, though. All new cars have that smell. A few days of sunshine with the windows open will help. Most people are ecstatic when they buy a new car. How come you seem so unfazed? And why is it I never get to live out one of those stories where the salesperson looks down on me and I get to put them in their place? You've been reading too many web novels, man. Leo rolled his eyes. So, where to now? I'll drop you home first. You can practice in it tomorrow. And tonight, I'm picking up Cece and taking her for a drive somewhere no one can find us. Dude, be a decent human being. By the time Wyatt drove to Maple Creek Estates, the sun had not yet fully set. The security guards already recognized him. When Wyatt poked his head out of the car window, a guard immediately raised the barrier arm. He parked at the curb and didn't get out, instead calling Cece and summoning her from the house. Cece guessed he had come in his new car. Forgetting to change her shoes, she came running out of the house in a pair of fluffy cotton slippers. Wyatt waved with a smile. Hop in. Cece quickly opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. The thought that with this car, Wyatt could come see her on weekends regardless of the weather brought an irrepressible smile to her face. Miranda saw Cece run out and followed her. Seeing the new car at the curb, she knew what was happening. Annie, I'm taking Cece for a little drive. I'll bring her back later. Don't drive too fast. Be safe. Wyatt smiled and nodded. Don't worry. The car pulled smoothly out of Maple Creek Estates, heading along the highway away from the city center. A warm breeze flowed through the open windows, filling the car with a sense of ease. Cece didn't know where Wyatt was driving, nor did she care to ask. As long as Wyatt was there, she felt completely at ease. As they got farther from the city, the traffic thinned. Wyatt, one hand on the steering wheel, turned to see Cece smiling as she looked out the window. How come you're not asking where we're going? He asked. Didn't you say we were just going for a drive? Not afraid I'll sell you. Nope, Cece said with a laugh. My mom saw you take me. Wyatt reached over and naturally took her hand. It was soft and smooth, its only flaw being how slender it was. A gentle squeeze was enough to feel the bones of her fingers. Cece was already used to him holding her hand. His hand was a full size larger than hers. If she made a fist, he could completely envelop it. And his hand was always warm, like a hand warmer, comforting to the touch. Wyatt teased her. Do you remember the first time we held hands? Cece looked down, flipping Wyatt's large hand over to examine the whorls on his fingertips. I barely remember that, she mumbled. Well, I'll never forget it. Cece quickly changed the subject. You have 5 whorls on this hand. I know. This hand is the same. After inspecting them, she placed his hand back on her lap. Seeing Wyatt slow the car down, she turned her head back to the window. The evening breeze rustled the willow branches, and distant mountains obscured the setting sun. A light wind rippled across the surface of a lake. Wyatt wasn't sure where he had driven, but the scenery was nice, so he pulled over. He got out and took Cece's hand, and they began to walk along the lake shore, chatting idly before sitting down on a grassy patch. Here, you can borrow a shoulder, Wyatt said, patting his own shoulder generously. The sky was darkening, and there was no one else around. Cece hesitated for only a second before scooting closer, leaning her body against his and slowly resting her head on his shoulder. But then a new thought occurred to her. This place was in the middle of nowhere. What if this bad guy next to her decided to get fresh again? Was she just going to give in meekly like last time? The more she thought, the more her anxiety grew. Just then, "You smell good today." Wyatt's words immediately put Cece on high alert. "Don't be ridiculous," she said quickly. "I haven't washed my hair in 3 days. I don't think it's your hair." As he spoke, he took a deliberate sniff. Cece quickly lifted her head. "Don't you dare smell me." All right, I won't." Cece pouted and took out her phone. She snapped a picture and was about to share it. Normally, she would send it to Wyatt first, but since he was right next to her, she decided to post it in their dorm group chat instead. Isabel, who had nothing better to do, popped up immediately. "Where is that?" "Cece, I don't know." "Isabel, you don't know? Did Wyatt take you there?" "Cece, he's right next to me." "Isabel, are you two just stuck together at the hip now that you're home?" Wyatt typed a reply over her shoulder. "Not at all. We didn't see each other for days before and after the new year." "Ashley, I'm so jealous. I just want to go back to school. It's so boring at home. I feel like I gained 10 pounds over the break. I'm too scared to get on a scale." "Sophie, haha, I think I gained weight too." "Isabel, it's fine. We can all go on a diet this summer." Wyatt typed again. "You three can go on a diet. You don't need to include Cece. She's not fat." "Isabel, guards, someone kick this man out of my palace." "Ashley, I second the motion, Your Majesty." "Sophie, I second the motion." Cece knew they were just playing around and giggled. But perhaps because the temperature had dropped with the setting sun, she suddenly sneezed. Wyatt immediately grasped her hand and found it ice cold. "Why did you come out in slippers?" "You called and I ran right out. I didn't have time to change." Wyatt sat up in front of her and unzipped his jacket. "Put your feet in my jacket." "No, I'm not cold. Hurry up." His tone was firm. Cece pouted, but ultimately complied, taking off her slippers and carefully extending her small, white-socked feet. Wyatt took hold of her ankles and tucked her feet directly inside his jacket. Her feet were like blocks of ice, while his chest was warm. The moment they made contact through the socks, it was like fire meeting ice. A wave of warmth spread from the soles of her feet throughout her body, and the tension in her body slowly began to melt away. Wyatt lifted her pant leg, revealing a small section of her pale ankle. Seeing that she was only wearing a single layer, he adopted the tone of an adult scolding a child. "Why aren't you wearing leggings under your jeans?" Cece blushed. "It's not cold in the house." Seeing her flushed face, Wyatt's tone softened considerably. "If you don't wear them now, you'll have arthritis in your old age." "So what if I do?" Cece said defiantly. Wyatt held her feet tighter and didn't press the issue. Cece felt the warmth from his body and began to relax, even finding the sensation comfortable. It was like waking up on a snowy morning, snuggled in a warm bed. She looked up at the moon, which had just appeared, and a charming smile curved her lips. But soon, she sensed something was wrong. "What are you doing taking my sock off? What do you want?" "Don't. They're dirty." It was after 8 when they started the drive back. The car's heater was blasting warm air, and Cece, far from feeling cold, now felt a little flushed and hot. She lowered the window a crack, and the cool night air on her face finally helped her cheeks cool down. But thinking about what Wyatt had just done made her feel as if someone was tickling her from the inside out. Her body still felt weak, not yet recovered. She stealthily took out her phone, opened Google, and typed into the search bar, "My boyfriend seems to have a special interest in feet. What should I do? Why are guys interested in feet? Found out my boyfriend has a foot fetish help." After reading the answers and explanations, Cece suddenly felt that Google wasn't all that reliable, because the internet said it was normal. How could this be normal? If this was normal, then every guy must be a pervert. Wyatt dropped Cece off at Maple Creek Estates. Before she got out of the car, he deliberately asked, "Want to do this again tomorrow?" Cece wanted to say yes, but she was afraid that by this, Wyatt didn't mean going for a drive, So, after a moment's consideration, she said, "We'll see about tomorrow." Wyatt nodded. He watched her walk into the courtyard before turning the car around and heading home. That night, Leo messaged him first, asking what time he wanted to practice driving tomorrow morning. He seemed more excited about Wyatt's new car than Wyatt was. Wyatt quickly replied, "Anytime works. Just come find me." Leo replied with an enthusiastic, "Okay." Nearby, his mother, Helen, saw the excited look on her son's face and asked casually, "What are you so happy about?" "Wyatt bought a car," Leo blurted out. "Wyatt bought a car?" "Yeah, just bought it today. I went with him." Helen frowned. "Where did he get the money?" "He earned it himself," Leo said. "He started a business at school as soon as he got to college. First, he opened a fresh market, and then a trading company. He's killing it." Leo's father, Paul, was also surprised. David's son is that capable. Yeah, look at him, and then look at you. What are you better at than him? Leo had heard this lecture countless times in high school, though back then the comparison was always to some straight-A student, not Wyatt. Leo suddenly asked, very seriously, Mom, what do you think of my looks? You're hideous. When you were born, if the doctor hadn't talked me out of it, I wouldn't have even wanted you. Leo had been running with Wyatt every morning and had his weight under control. He'd even gotten his hairstyle for the new year and started using face wash. He wanted to know if his image had improved in his mother's eyes. And you've gotten uglier as you've grown up. You look just like your father, annoying to even look at. If it weren't for you, I would have divorced your dad long ago. I thought you said I was ugly. Why would you stay because of me? I was afraid if we divorced, the court would give you to me. Paul finally couldn't take it anymore. He rolled his eyes and said, Don't listen to your mother's nonsense. When you were born, your skin was fair and smooth. The whole family adored you. And now, you're passable, not as handsome as I was at your age. Leo let out a long sigh and went back to his room without another word. Seeing this, Helen whispered, Paul, what's with your son? What do you mean, what's with him? He's a lazy bum, but lately he's been going out for a run every morning. He bought 3 new sets of clothes this year and even started using face wash. You don't think he's got a girlfriend at school, do you? That would be a good thing. There are so many single guys out there. He's so awkward. If he doesn't find a girlfriend in college, he'll probably have a hard time getting married. You're the awkward one. My son is 100 times better than you. A minute ago, you were calling him ugly. I was just kidding. I think your son took it seriously. Helen froze for a second, then quickly got up and went to Leo's room. Son, Mom was just kidding earlier. You're way more handsome than your dad was at your age. Now, tell me the truth. Do you have a girlfriend at school? Mom. Leo quickly stood up and pushed Helen out of his room. Just stay out of my business, okay? He said, flustered. And knock before you come into my room from now on. Helen turned and called out, Paul, what now? Your son is definitely in love. It's a well-known fact that having a driver's license doesn't mean you know how to drive. So when Leo sat in the driver's seat, he looked calm on the surface, but inside, he was panicking. Wyatt watched him sit there for a long moment without moving. What are you doing? Don't rush me, don't rush me. I'm thinking through the steps. Leo muttered to himself. Foot on the brake, start the engine, shift from P to N, pause, then to D, release the handbrake, lift off the brake, light on the gas, and go. Wyatt was speechless. Driving was second nature to him now. But this was Leo's first time in a real-world situation, and he'd learned on a stick shift. The automatic was still unfamiliar. Wyatt patiently coached him. Luckily, there weren't many cars on the road. After a few laps, Leo started to get the feel for the gas pedal. Wyatt saw the sweat on his forehead and reconsidered his plan to have Leo share the driving on the way back to the city. Anyway, for the next few days, just come over to my place whenever you're free. Once you get the hang of it, I'll give you a key. Were your parents surprised when they found out you bought a car? They were fine. I came clean with them before the new year. They know I have money. Leo sighed. I wonder when I'll have a car of my own. When I upgrade to a luxury car. Why? Why get a luxury car? You can have this one. Wyatt expected Leo to curse him out, but Leo just said calmly, okay. If this had been 6 months ago, Leo would have shot back, you, in your dreams. But now, he genuinely believed Wyatt had the ability and the drive to afford a luxury car one day. It was Wyatt who felt a little strange not being insulted. After a full day of practice, as Leo was driving home that evening, he saw his mom, Helen, standing in front of their supermarket, chatting animatedly with the neighbors. I'm telling you, Sarah's son is really something now. He was making tens of thousands a month just after starting college. Really? My son is best friends with her son. Of course it's true. Sarah's son is that impressive. Look, here comes my son now. That's Sarah's son with him. That's the car he just bought yesterday. Wyatt saw the group of middle-aged women staring at him and felt a chill. He just got out of the car, gave Helen a distant wave, and then quickly turned and left. But Wyatt had no idea that within a few days, those same women would have turned him into the richest man in Riverwood. Did you hear? Sarah's son struck it rich in college. Makes hundreds of thousands a month. He just bought a luxury car the other day. I heard he started a trading company and made over $1 million in 6 months. What was the name of that car he bought? A Maserati. Yes, that's the one. That evening, Wyatt drove to Maple Creek Estates again, but this time he waited outside for over 10 minutes before Cece came out. She wasn't just wearing a thick coat. She also had on a pair of high-top boots. The moment she got in the car, Wyatt noticed her footwear. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Seriously? You're defending against your own boyfriend? You're exactly who I'm defending against. Cece hadn't expected him to see through her little plan so quickly. She huffed, then turned her head to smile out the window. The days at home passed quickly. He spent his days teaching Leo to drive and his evenings taking Cece for walks and drives. In the blink of an eye, it was already late February. Wyatt planned to head back to NYC the next day. If he left in the morning, he could be there by late afternoon, check into a hotel for the night, and then go back to campus the following day to get things ready for the new semester. The night before he left, as Wyatt was packing, his mom, Sarah, started her usual litany of reminders. Pack a few extra layers. The spring can still be cold. Do you have any cash in your wallet? If not, I have some in my purse. Drive safely tomorrow. Remember to stop at a rest area every 2 hours. Do you want to go to the store and get some snacks for the road? We have several cases of milk left over from the holidays. Do you want to take them all to school? Wyatt patiently answered each one. I still have warm clothes at school. Everyone uses their phone to pay now. I don't need cash. Don't worry, I won't speed. Leo's family owns a supermarket. His mom will definitely stuff his suitcase with tons of food. I'll take 1 case of yogurt. I don't really like plain milk. Wyatt packed a few changes of clothes and zipped up his suitcase. Just as he was about to pack his backpack, his phone rang with a voice call. He thought it was Cece, but when he looked, he saw it was Vivian, the lounge owner. Hey, Vivian. Wyatt, are you still in Riverwood? Yeah, what's up? I've decided to change careers. I'm going to do what you suggested, the apparel industry. I'm at a factory in the industrial park right now. Do you want to come take a look? Wyatt was surprised. When he'd mentioned it before the new year, Vivian had been hesitant. Why the sudden change of heart? Send me the address, Wyatt replied. I'll head over right now. Okay. Vivian sent the address. After a quick look, Wyatt grabbed his car keys and drove towards the industrial park. Vivian's sudden decision was driven by 2 things. First, the landlord of her lounge was raising the rent again. Second, when she'd mentioned the idea over the holidays, her brother, Peter, happened to have a connection. He told her about a clothing factory owner in the industrial park who had lost a lot of money gambling and was now looking to sell the factory cheap to pay off his debts. The equipment was all there, and the price was excellent. If she took it over, it would be relatively easy to turn a profit. Vivian, clutching her coat, waited at the factory gate for 20 minutes before a white Mazda pulled up. Wyatt rolled down the window. Vivian, what made you change your mind so suddenly? It's a long story. Vivian opened the passenger door and got in, pointing towards the factory yard. Pull the car in. I'll show you the place first. Then I'll tell you why I changed my mind. All right. Wyatt parked the car, and he and Vivian walked to the entrance. Pushing open 2 large iron doors, they were greeted by rows of neatly arranged electric sewing machines. Vivian had already been here a few times. This factory isn't huge, she explained. 2 floors. The first floor is the sewing workshop, and the second floor has the cutting tables and offices. They used to produce for online stores, like stuff sold on Amazon. Business was actually pretty good, but the owner lost over $200,000 gambling last year and needs to sell to pay off his debts. My brother already had someone look into it. The price is very fair. This is great. The equipment is ready to go, and you might even be able to hire back the original workers. That would save a lot of trouble. So we're doing e-commerce too. Vivian asked. Yeah, online shopping is the future. We're in the middle of a boom. We'll build up the brand's reputation first, then consider other avenues. But I don't know the first thing about selling online. It's okay if you don't. We can hire someone who does. It's not that difficult, really. The key is marketing. But if we're doing lingerie, the product itself has its own built-in appeal. This has real potential. You said before that if I change careers, you invest. Were you serious or just joking? If you put in, say, 150,000, I'll put in 75. Vivian had been feeling unsure, but Wyatt's confidence gave her a boost. She smiled. If you say so, then I'll have my brother start negotiating with the owner tomorrow. If it works out, I might be contacting you a lot. No problem. I'm always available. When are you heading back to school? Tomorrow morning. So soon. I have to get back early to prepare for my company's work. All right then. Vivian made up her mind. Let's do this. I'll keep you updated on our progress through text. Vivian, have you thought of a name for our company or our brand? Vivian locked the main gate and walked with Wyatt towards the car. Not yet, she said. Do you have any suggestions? Wyatt thought for a moment and smiled. How about Vivian's Secret? No way. Using my name for a brand is too embarrassing. I meant it as a joke, playing on Victoria's Secret. It's got a nice ring to it, ties into the lingerie theme. Ugh, it's still a bit mortifying. We'll figure it out later. Is this car new? Yeah, looks like I'll have to start calling you boss for real. Hey, you're taking advantage of me. I'm taking advantage of you. I call you boss lady. You call me boss? How is that not you taking advantage of me? Vivian paused for a second, then shoved Wyatt aside, unable to hold back a laugh as she scolded him. Get out of here. I'm old enough to be your aunt. Haha, well, I'm heading out then. Okay. Vivian waved. Drive safe. After watching Wyatt's car leave, Vivian got in her own BMW 5 Series and called her brother. Peter, what's up? Go ahead and talk to that factory owner for me. You made up your mind. MHM. Vivian, whatever you decide, your big brother will always support you. But I have to ask, are you really still not over him? I have a friend about your age, graduated from an Ivy League school. Peter, all right. Forget I asked. Don't worry about the factory. The owner is desperate to sell. I'll have it settled for you before the Lantern Festival. Okay, sound good. The next morning, Wyatt set off. He left Riverwood and headed up the highway towards New York City. Although the highway was busy, traffic flowed smoothly with few delays. Wyatt stopped at 3 rest areas along the way, driving the entire distance himself without letting Leo take a turn. Around 4 in the afternoon, he finally entered the city. Wake up, we're almost there. Leo in the passenger seat and Cece in the back were both dozing off. At the sound of Wyatt's voice, they stirred. Leo rolled down his window, glanced outside, and said to Wyatt, "Just drop me at a subway station. I can get back to school on my own." Wyatt laughed. "I'll take you right to your campus gate. I checked the map. It's only a small detour. Are your dorms open?" "Yeah, they opened the day before yesterday. But the dining hall isn't open yet, so I'll have to eat out or order in." Cece yawned, stretching lazily. "How much longer?" "About 20 minutes. Wyatt dropped Leo off at his campus first, then drove directly to the hotel near Juilliard that they had stayed at several times before. "We're here." Before leaving for NYC, Cece had already asked her roommates when they were coming back. Ashley and Sophie were both returning after the Lantern Festival. Isabel had promised to come tomorrow to keep her company, which meant tonight, Cece would be staying alone with Wyatt in a hotel. Though it wasn't the first time, Cece still felt a flutter of nervousness. They walked into the hotel lobby together. Wyatt pulled his ID from his wallet and handed it to the front desk clerk. After getting a room with 2 beds, Cece followed him straight to the elevator. She felt like a grade schooler going to an internet cafe for the first time, a mix of excitement and anxiety. Inside the room, the bathroom was to the left. The room itself had 2 beds separated by a nightstand. Wyatt turned on the AC, slipped the disposable slippers into the reusable ones, and sat on the bed to call Chris. "Hey, I'm in the city. When are you getting back?" "All right. I'll pick you up from the station tomorrow night then." "Yeah, got the car a week ago." "Okay, talk to you then." After a brief call, Wyatt hung up. Cece was already sitting on her own bed, leaning against the headboard, hugging a pillow, and debating whether to text her parents. As if reading her mind, Wyatt opened his messaging app, created a new group chat, and added Miranda, Charles, and Cece. Once they had all joined, he changed the group name to the Evans Family Funhouse. Cece saw the new group pop up in her chat list and tapped on it. She saw that besides herself and Wyatt, both her parents were in it. And worst of all was the group name Wyatt had chosen, the Evans Family Funhouse. She immediately looked at Wyatt, complaining, "Why did you make a random group chat? With this group, your mom and dad will at least have a place to talk," Wyatt explained. "Otherwise, now that you're in NYC, they'll go right back to ignoring each other." Cece thought about it and realized he had a point. "But that group name, you're still just my boyfriend," she thought. "You haven't even been officially approved yet. How did we become the Evans Family Funhouse?" Just as she was about to tell Wyatt to change the name, he sent the first message to the group. "We made it to NYC safely. Don't worry, Uncle Charles and Aunt Miranda." Miranda was at home watching TV. When her phone chimed, she guessed it might be Wyatt. She was surprised to see a group message. She scanned Wyatt's text, then glanced at the group name, a small smile touching her lips. Just then, Charles chimed in. "Charles, glad you made it." Miranda muttered to herself in an exasperated tone. Why did he have to add him to the group? But despite her complaint, a faint smile remained on her face. She wasn't a fool. After years in the business world, she had seen it all. When Charles had suddenly shown up with flowers on Valentine's Day, she had thought about it that night and suspected Wyatt might have been involved. Then the candied chestnuts the next day, and all the perfect excuses Charles had found to visit in the following days. She was certain Wyatt was the mastermind behind it all, coaching Cece on how to create opportunities for Charles to visit and coaching Charles on how to win her over. Miranda had been deliberately pretending not to know. After the divorce, she had always felt a sense of guilt towards Cece for not being able to give her a complete home. Now, if Charles wanted to reconcile, she was willing to give him a chance. In short, her attitude towards him could be summed up in 3 words. Let's see results. So, Miranda also sent a message to the group. "Eat on time, sleep on time. You two take care of yourselves." Wyatt saw the message and held up his phone with a grin. Feeling the warmth of family now, Cece looked at the 2 messages in the group and said, Contrary to what she felt, no. Wyatt promptly stood up, walked over, and opened his arms with a smile. Then let me give you some more warmth. No, go away. I'm going to scream. Wyatt ignored her protests and her struggles. He sat down on her bed and decisively pulled her into his arms. Cece let out a small cry as she fell against his chest, and he held her tight. The moment she was in his embrace, Cece, who had been resisting just a second ago, went completely still, as if muted. In a small room, on the single bed, Wyatt simply held her without making another move. Cece's mind went blank. She had no idea what to do. She only felt that the room's temperature, which had been a comfortable 75 degrees, had suddenly shot up to over 90. Her ears were burning, her heart was racing, and her breathing became shallow. Wyatt whispered, "I'm just going to hold you. No funny business." His words allowed her tense body to relax. She stopped struggling and found a more comfortable position in his arms. "What time is Isabel getting here tomorrow?" "I don't know. She just said she's coming tomorrow, not what time. I'll ask her." Wyatt first replied to his future mother-in-law in the Evans Family Funhouse chat, then opened the dorm group and tagged Isabel. "At Isabel, what time are you getting back tomorrow?" "Isabel, noon." "Isabel, you're buying lunch." "Wyatt, you really don't beat around the bush, do you?" "Isabel, let's be clear, I'm coming back to school early to keep your girlfriend company." "Wyatt, fine, lunch is on me. Call Cece when you get here." "Isabel, got it." "Isabel, are you two in a hotel right now?" "Wyatt, yep." "Isabel, have fun, you two winking face Ashley. Have fun winking face Sophie. Have fun winking face." Wyatt exited the app, tossed his phone on his own bed, and rubbed his eyes. "My eyes are so dry right now. I can't stop blinking." Cece asked softly, "Did you not sleep well last night?" "I don't know, it's just really uncomfortable. But I know how to fix it." "How?" "By watching you take a shower," Wyatt said. "I promise I won't blink once." "You." Cece tried to push away, but Wyatt pulled her right back into his arms. I'm kidding. Don't get so worked up," he said quickly, a grin on his face. "You're a jerk." Cece squirmed for a moment, but settled back into his embrace. Wyatt could still feel the tension in her body, so he changed the subject, talking about his plans for the first half of the year. As she listened, her attention shifted. Her guard down, she didn't even realize she was now pressed completely against him, or that the hand he'd had on her shoulder had snaked its way around her waist. It was only when Wyatt finally fell silent, and she felt the heat radiating from his body, that she sensed something was amiss. "I'm hungry," Cece said quickly. "Are you hungry?" Wyatt lowered his head, inhaling the scent of her hair. His throat felt dry. He swallowed, his voice coming out in a low growl. "Starving. Should we go out to eat?" "Sure, but you have to let me kiss you first." "No." As soon as the word was out, Cece sat up straight, pressing her lips together in a firm line, a look of defiant resistance on her face. "Just one kiss." Cece stubbornly shook her head. Wyatt cupped her face in his large hands. With a gentle squeeze of his thumb and middle finger, her pursed lips puckered out. He leaned in, looking down into her shimmering eyes, and slowly lowered his head. Cece instinctively pressed her hands against his chest, but it was useless. His lips found hers, and he kissed her greedily, once, twice, 3 times. The strength gradually drained from the hand she had braced against him. It felt as if an electric current was shooting from her lips through her entire body, a tingling, numbing sensation that left her completely limp. When she felt like she couldn't breathe, she asked in a pathetic whisper, "Have you had enough yet?" Only then did he stop, adding shamelessly, "You're so sweet." Her face beat red. Cece grabbed his hand and bit down hard. It wasn't until he yelped in pain that she let go, scrambled off the bed, and ran to the bathroom to wash her face. Wyatt looked at the teeth marks on his arm and followed her to the bathroom door with a smile. "Come on, let's go find something to eat." "I'm washing my face first," she yelled from inside, then muttered under her breath, "You annoying dork, now my face is all covered in your slobber." Several minutes later, Cece emerged from the bathroom. She had washed her face and reapplied her lip balm. Seeing Wyatt waiting, she shot him a glare and stalked out of the room without looking back. "Hey, wait for me." Wyatt grabbed his phone and wallet and hurried after her. "If you ever do that again, I'm not talking to you." "Do what again?" "Kiss me without my permission." "You didn't exactly say no." I shook my head. "Did you?" "I didn't notice. I was too busy thinking about kissing you." The elevator doors opened, and 2 other girls walked in. Cece immediately fell silent, but Wyatt leaned in and whispered, "Okay, from now on, I'll ask before I kiss you." Cece's face instantly flushed again. She'd only brought it up because they were alone. Now, with 2 strangers in the elevator, hearing those words made her want to pull on a mask and a hat and pretend she didn't know him. The two girls who had just gotten on heard Wyatt and turned to look at them, making Cece even more embarrassed. She reached out and gave his side a vicious pinch. When the elevator reached the underground parking garage and the doors opened, Cece bolted out. Wyatt followed close behind. After a few minutes of walking, Cece stopped. "Where did you park the car?" Wyatt pointed behind them. "It's over there." "Why didn't you say so?" Cece spun around and marched back in the direction of the car. Wyatt scrambled to keep up, his face a mask of appeasement. "I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. You bit me, you pinched me. Tell me, what will it take for you to not be mad anymore?" Cece thought for a moment. "Swear that you'll never do it again." Wyatt raised 2 fingers. "I will never do it again." "I didn't hear you." Wyatt immediately yelled at the top of his lungs. "I will never do it again. I'll never randomly kiss you again. Is once loud enough, or should I shout it again?" Just as he was about to yell again, Cece shot up on her toes, clamped a hand over his mouth, and warned him with a fierce look, "Once is enough. Don't you dare shout again." Wyatt nodded obediently. Cece let go of his mouth, and in the next second, a familiar hand took hers. After dinner, they wandered around a mall for a while before driving back to the hotel around 7 or 8. The moment they got back, Sarah sent a video call request. Cece used the opportunity to slip into the bathroom for a shower. Wyatt reported back to his parents that they were safe, then sent a message to Vivian to check on her progress. She replied quickly, "We've secured the factory. I was just about to message you." "What's the next step?" Wyatt, "Hiring. Start with an e-commerce manager, then build a team around them." Wyatt, "Get the design sketches done as soon as you can. We want to get the factory up and running." Wyatt, "Send me the designs when you have them." Vivian, "You know about design too?" Wyatt, "I know men." Vivian, "Okay, I'll have Hannah post the job listing online tomorrow. Let's stay in touch. I'm completely clueless right now." Wyatt, "Don't worry. We'll take it one step at a time." Vivian, "Okay." They chatted for about 10 minutes. When Cece came out of the bathroom, Wyatt put his phone down and went in to take a shower himself. When Wyatt came out, Cece had already turned off the main lights, leaving only a small night light on by the bed. Wyatt dried his hair, lay down, and scrolled through stock market news for a bit. When his eyes grew tired, he placed his phone on a nightstand to charge and turned off the nightlight. "Are you asleep?" "Not yet. Can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead." "Do you know why they call it a crush?" "Why?" "Because that's how you feel when they don't like you back." "Oh, but you know what they call it when they do like you back?" "What?" "The beginning." "That's so romantic." "Do you know what a woman calls her husband after they're married?" "Hubby." "Yep, and hubby's right here." The two brothers from another mother had a good night's sleep. The next day at noon, after having lunch with Cece and Isabel, Wyatt drove back to his own campus. The new semester started in 2 days, and Wyatt planned to come back to see Cece for the Lantern Festival. That left him with only 2 days to get the fresh market restocked and the company's operations back up and running. It was a tight schedule. The campus was still quiet. The dorm building was open, though. Wyatt parked his car downstairs, a now familiar routine, and carried his suitcase up to his room. Just as he was fumbling for his keys, the door swung open from the inside. Wyatt jumped, thinking a thief had broken in. "Wyatt, you're back." It was Sam, who had opened the door. He had arrived that morning, had just finished cleaning the dorm room, and was on his way to take out the trash. Wyatt had only called Chris yesterday. Alex was a local and could be summoned with a single phone call, and Sam lived so far away that he rarely went home outside of long breaks. Wyatt had figured he'd let him stay home a few extra days and hadn't messaged him. He never expected Sam to be back even earlier than he was. "What are you doing back so early?" Wyatt asked, puzzled. "The semester doesn't start for 2 more days. The tickets for the 16th were impossible to get," Sam explained. "I got a sleeper car for last night, slept on the train, and got into the city at dawn. I deliberately didn't call you. I wanted you to have a few more days at home." Sam smiled. "It's fine. I was just bored at home anyway. I figured the market would need to be restocked, so I came back early. I'm just going to take out the trash." "All right." Wyatt brought his suitcase into the room. After a few minutes of unpacking, he climbed onto his top bunk to get his comforter to air it out in the sun. Seeing this, Sam immediately grabbed his own. He then turned and asked, "Should we air out Chris's and Alex's comforters too?" "You get Alex's, I'll get Chris's." "Okay." After they had aired out the bedding and returned to the room, Wyatt called his fruit supplier to arrange for a delivery tomorrow afternoon. Then he pinged everyone in the company's group me, asking when they were getting back to school. Ruby was the first to reply. "I'll be back tomorrow." Megan, "I'm already on campus." Jessica's reply was the most concise, just 2 words, "On my way." At this point, Wyatt had 3 ventures: the fresh market, the trading company, and the still private investment company. He had a clear plan. If the market's profits remained stable, he would wait until after graduation to sell it. If not, he'd sell it before he graduated. As for the trading company, once the team was more experienced, he planned to hand over the reins to Chris and Jessica. He would then focus his primary energy on investing. That afternoon, Wyatt took a nap in the dorm. Around 5 in the evening, he drove to Penn Station. Outside the station, Paige stood beside a large suitcase, watching the endless stream of cars. She nudged Chris with her hip. Ask Wyatt how much longer he'll be. Chris scanned the approaching traffic. I just asked. He said this section of road is a bit congested, but he should be here any minute. Did you tell your dad about buying a car? I did, Chris sighed. I worked for a month collecting rent for my family over the break, and my dad would only give me $5,000. Said a beginner should just get a used car. I asked him to let me drive the Mercedes, but he flat out refused. Sometimes I wonder if I'm his real son. Haha, you definitely are. My dad said you look just like your dad did when he was young. I've even seen pictures. Chris touched his face, incredulous. So tell me, who was more handsome? My dad when he was young, or me? You're both ugly. Would it kill you to give me a compliment? Just as Paige was about to reply with a happy grin, a white Mazda pulled up in front of them. The window rolled down, and Wyatt called out, "Hop in, I can't park here for long." Hearing Wyatt's voice, Chris quickly loaded the suitcase into the trunk and slid into the passenger seat. How long is the drive from our school? If you take the outer highway, it's only 50 minutes. That's not too far. Chris then asked, how much did this car cost? A little over $18,000. It's just for getting around. As long as it drives, it's fine. Paige, seeing a lull in their conversation, chimed in. Wyatt, how come it looks like you didn't gain any weight over the break? I didn't. I was still running every day at home. Paige shot a disdainful look at Chris. Look at him, and then look at you. Chris's scalp tingled. His father had said the same thing all break. He hadn't expected to come back to school and still not be able to escape it. But Wyatt immediately jumped in. Paige, you can't compare your Chris to me. After all, there aren't many people our age who are more outstanding than I am. Paige burst out laughing. You really are shameless. Chris gave Wyatt a mournful look and then a thumbs up. Yes, you're so amazing. So high and mighty. None of Leo's roommates were back at school yet. He didn't feel lonely in the dorm room by himself. He wasn't particularly close with them anyway. That night, after a shower, he lay in bed early and sent a message to Sophie, asking when she was coming back. She replied quickly. I'm looking at tickets now. Leo, you didn't buy them in advance? Sophie, no. Philly isn't that far from NYC. If I can't get a train ticket, my dad can just drive me. Leo, but the traffic on the 16th is going to be terrible. Sophie, oh, right. I didn't even think of that. Sophie, maybe I should come back tomorrow? Cece and Isabel are already in their dorm. Leo, that works. Of course, Leo wanted Sophie to come back early. That way, he could see her for a day before the semester started. Sophie, let me go talk to my parents. Leo, okay. 5 minutes later, Sophie messaged him back. Okay, it's decided. I'm coming back to NYC tomorrow. I'll leave after lunch and should get there around 3. Leo thought for a moment and quickly replied, if you're taking the train, I can pick you up in a car. Sophie, where would you get a car? Leo, Wyatt bought a new car over the break. I can drive his to come get you. Sophie, will Wyatt be okay with that? Leo, of course he will. We're brothers from another mother. Sophie/giggle. While chatting with Sophie, Leo also sent a message to Wyatt. Leo, Dad, you there? Wyatt, spit it out. Leo, let me borrow your car tomorrow. I'm going to pick up Sophie from the station. Wyatt, you've only practiced for a few days. You think you can handle it? Leo, no problem. Wyatt, just be careful. Leo, don't worry. I'll come to your place tomorrow morning, and after I drop Sophie off, I'll bring the car back to you. Wyatt, don't bother. I have to go over there on the 15th anyway. I'll just drive it over myself then. Save you the trip. Leo, dude, I'm so touched. Leo, I'm literally tearing up. Wyatt, don't gross me out. Get lost. The next morning, Wyatt called a quick company meeting to go over preparations for the new semester. It was short and to the point. The second it ended, his phone buzzed with a call from Leo, who announced he was at the campus gate. Wyatt hung up and headed over. Leo had clearly put some thought into his look today. He was wearing a gray wool jacket, black pants, and crisp white sneakers. He even had a face mask on. If you couldn't see his whole face, he actually looked pretty damn stylish. Still, Wyatt recognized him instantly. Wyatt pulled the Mazda 3 over, got out, and tossed the keys to Leo. Drive carefully, he said. Just follow the GPS. Leo caught the keys, grinning. Don't worry, I won't push it. If you get there early, find a spot to park nearby. You can't leave the car waiting right in front of the station for long. Leo glanced at the time. Got it. I'll head over now. Sophie should be arriving around 3. All right. Leo slid into the driver's seat, gave Wyatt a wave, and hit the gas. He'd been practicing every day since Wyatt bought the car over the break. He was a quick learner, so Wyatt wasn't worried about his basic skills. He was worried about how Leo would handle an unexpected situation. Driving was a real skill. You couldn't call yourself a pro without at least a few years under your belt. Leo's heart hammered with excitement the whole way there. Over the past month, he'd dreamed about Sophie at least 3 times. He'd been watching what he ate, trying to stay in shape, and had even joined Wyatt for his morning runs. He'd started a skincare routine, too, and his face looked clearer. He couldn't wait for Sophie to see the new and improved him. That's how love is. It sneaks up on you, and then it's all you can think about. The next few hours felt like an eternity to Leo. He got to Penn Station at 1:30, found a parking garage nearby, and started to wait. At 2:30, he finally sent Sophie a text. Leo, how much longer? Sophie, about 40 minutes. Have you been waiting long? Leo, nah, I just got here. Leo, I'm still a little ways from the station. Text me when you're 10 minutes out, and I'll drive over. Sophie, okay. After the brief exchange, Leo went back to waiting, a happy buzz humming through him. At 3 o'clock, Sophie's message finally came through. Sophie, almost there. You can head over now. Leo quickly replied and pulled the car out of the garage. Sophie stood by the curb, her hands resting on the handle of her suitcase, watching the car stream past. She was about to text Leo to ask where he was, but stopped herself, figuring he was driving and shouldn't be looking at his phone. She waited for about 10 minutes before the Mazda finally pulled up. Leo jumped out, scratching his head awkwardly. Sorry about that. I had no idea the traffic would be this bad. I sat through 2 red lights. The changes in Leo over the past month took Sophie by surprise. She stared for a second before replying, It's fine. I didn't wait long. Leo hurried over, loaded her suitcase into the trunk, and then thoughtfully held the passenger door open for her. Only then did he get in and drive off. Once the doors were closed, the atmosphere in the car became thick with a sweet kind of awkwardness. Both of them looked like they had something to say, but didn't know how to start. After a few minutes of silence, they both spoke at once. So, you first. No, you go. Leo let out a goofy laugh. Wyatt's going to your school tomorrow to celebrate the Lantern Festival with Cece. I was wondering if you want to go with them? With me? Sophie replied, Sure. It wouldn't be the first time I've been their third wheel. What were you going to say? Leo asked. Sophie smiled. I was just trying to break the silence. It felt awkward. I didn't really have anything to say. Leo immediately grew tense. Do you feel awkward when you're with me? That's not what I meant, Sophie said quickly. I just meant that when it's just 2 people in a car and neither is talking, the silence can be a little awkward. My fault. I'm not great with words. I'm not much better. Leo seemed determined to stretch out their time together, driving so slowly that the 50-minute trip took over an hour and 10 minutes. When he saw Sophie get out of the car and start wheeling her suitcase toward her dorm, a pang of disappointment hit him. How had the time passed so slowly at 1 o'clock, and so quickly now? Sophie pulled her suitcase into the dorm lobby, then glanced back to see Leo still standing there like a statue. She hesitated, then turned around and walked back out. Hey, you drove all the way out here to get me. Let me buy you dinner tonight. Leo's heart exploded with joy. Okay, he blurted out. Sophie's face turned pink. Then, wait for me downstairs for a bit. I'm just going to drop my suitcase off. Okay, up in the dorm room. You and Wyatt really stayed in the same room the other night. Isabel asked, her eyes wide. So did you guys? You know. Isabel finished, clapping her hands together 3 times with a suggestive grin. Cece had no idea what the clapping meant, but from Isabel's expression, she knew exactly where her mind was. It was a standard room, she explained quickly. 2 separate beds. And he didn't try anything? No. Really? Are you sure? Yes, really. That's hard to believe. You don't think he has performance issues, do you? Isabel immediately answered her own question. No, wait. He's way too much of a horn dog for that. Just as they were talking, Sophie pushed the door open and came in. She slid her suitcase under her bed, slung her purse over her shoulder, and said to Isabel and Cece, I'm heading out to eat. If you guys leave tonight, you can just lock the door. I have my key. We can all go together in a bit, Isabel offered. Sophie's cheeks flushed. Leo's waiting downstairs. With that, she scurried out of the room, clearly embarrassed. Isabel immediately ran to the balcony. When she saw Leo driving away with Sophie in the passenger seat, she shook her head and sighed dramatically. It's only been a month. How have you both already been conquered? She pulled out her phone and called Ashley. The second the call connected, Isabel wailed, Girl, you need to get back here. S.P. If you don't, I'm going to be the only third wheel left tomorrow. Beaming, Leo led Sophie into a restaurant. This was the first time she had ever asked him to dinner. He was ecstatic feeling like his big chance had finally arrived. During his morning runs over the break, he'd grilled Wyatt for advice on wooing women, absorbing every bit of relationship wisdom he could get. Leo felt like he was now a seasoned expert in theory. All he lacked was a practical opportunity like this one. He decided to break the ice. Do you guys start classes right after the Lantern Festival too? Yeah. Have you noticed how short this semester is? It's already almost March. We have spring break next month, then a long weekend for Memorial Day, and then summer break at the end of June. Sophie hadn't thought about it. Hearing him lay it out, she laughed. I guess you're right. Do you have any plans for the summer? Sophie shook her head. Not yet. I'll figure it out when it gets here. I'm more of a go-with-the-flow kind of person. Fearing the conversation would die, she asked, What about you? Leo grinned. I haven't thought about it either. I'll probably just see what Wyatt's doing and tag along. After a few exchanges, Sophie started to open up. She smiled and said, I don't know. It feels like you got a little thinner over the break. I've been running in the mornings. Didn't you see my posts? I thought you'd give up after a few days, huh? No way. Leo didn't know how to sweet-talk a girl, and he certainly didn't have Wyatt's shameless ability to drop a line that would make someone blush. He just chatted with Sophie, a simple back and forth. But he was noticeably more relaxed than he had been last year. After finishing her meal, Sophie wiped her mouth with a napkin, twisted the cap off a bottle of water, and took 2 small sips, her head tilted back. The movement was so natural, exuding a kind of gentle, southern grace. Leo had finished eating long ago. He watched her silent. Finally, Sophie spoke first. Are you done? Seeing no reaction, she waved her hand in front of his face. He snapped back to reality. Done. I'm done. Should we head back then? Sophie stood up, grabbing her bag to go pay at the counter. I already paid when I went to the restroom earlier, Leo said quickly. Sophie looked up at him, her voice soft. But I said it was my treat. There's always next time. The two left the restaurant. Leo drove back the way they came. When they arrived downstairs at the girls' dorm, Sophie didn't get out of the car right away. She sensed that Leo had something he wanted to say. I ate too much. My stomach's a little full. You shouldn't sit down right after eating. Leo remembered Wyatt's words and, steeling himself, said, So, you want to go for a walk? Sophie nodded lightly. Okay, Leo immediately unbuckled his seatbelt and got out. They walked side by side toward a tree-lined path on the east side of campus. Watching Sophie's hand swing back and forth, Leo's mind raced. How do I hold her hand? Wyatt's voice, echoing from that day in Isabel's kitchen, replayed in his ears. They walked for 15 minutes before sitting down on a wooden bench under a tree. Leo lowered his head, fiddling with his fingers as if he were fascinated by them. He mulled it over for a long time before finally mustering the courage. Your hands are so small. Sophie froze. In that instant, it was as if she could hear Isabel's voice ringing in her ears. She glanced at her own small hands, then stuffed them into her pockets, offering a polite but awkward smile. Most girls' hands are small. Leo was dumbfounded. His next line was supposed to be, Let's compare hand sizes. He never expected her to hide her hands completely. He wanted to cry. Why aren't you following the script? He thought miserably. Half an hour later, Wyatt's phone rang. It was Leo. Wyatt put the call on speaker, and Leo's pitiful voice filled the room. Wyatt, your tricks don't work, and I trusted you so much. Wyatt was completely baffled. He frowned. What are you talking about? I was with Sophie just now, Leo said immediately. I wanted to hold her hand, so I used that line you taught me. And as soon as I said, your hands are so small, she shoved them in her pockets. The line went silent for 2 seconds, followed by a roar of laughter from everyone in Wyatt's dorm room. You son of a bitch, you think this is funny? Leo yelled. I almost died of embarrassment. There are 2 possibilities, Wyatt said, trying to contain his laughter. What 2 possibilities? First, Sophie figured out what you were trying to do and decided she's not ready to hold your hand yet. Leo pressed. And the second possibility? She has a mastermind advising her from behind the scenes. Huh, and I've already guessed who that mastermind is. Isabel. Probably. What's her problem? She knows I'm terrible at this stuff, and she's still sabotaging me. Is there any way to get her to mind her own business? Sure, Wyatt said. You could set her up with a boyfriend, or you could just bribe her to stop messing with you. Her standards are probably sky high. Setting her up with someone is unrealistic. I need to find a chance to talk to her, tell her to stop being his damn tactical advisor. Good luck with that. When do you think I'll finally be able to hold her hand? When you're walking with her, if the hand closest to you is holding a purse or her phone, it means she doesn't want you to hold it. If that hand is empty, you can go for it. Leo quickly replayed the scene in his mind. He remembered that as they walked toward the path, Sophie was holding her purse with both hands. His eyes widened. Bro, you're a genius with women. Stay humble. All right, I'll talk to you later. See you tomorrow. Yep. Leo hung up the phone and happily drove back toward his own campus. But it was rush hour. The drive, which should have taken 30 minutes at most, stretched to nearly 50. The heavy traffic made him nervous, and by the time he reached his school, his forehead was slick with sweat. He wiped his brow, a wave of relief washing over him. But maybe he'd relaxed too soon. As he pulled up to his dorm and tried to parallel park, he got too close. The fender scraped against the curb with a sickening, high-pitched screech. Leo's eyes flew open. He scrambled out of the car to check the damage. When he saw the 3-inch gash scraped into the fender, his mind went completely blank. I'm so screwed. Leo's head was buzzing. This was Wyatt's brand new car, not even 2 weeks old. At that moment, Leo was filled with a regret, so sharp it was painful. If slapping himself a few times could undo it, he would have done it without hesitation. But now, staring at the scratch on the fender, he reluctantly pulled out his phone. He hesitated for a long time before finally dialing Wyatt. Wyatt's voice came through the speaker. What now? Can you please stop calling me every 5 seconds? Wyatt, Leo stammered. I have to tell you something. Can you promise not to yell at me? Wyatt heard the panic in his voice and frowned. What's wrong? I scraped your car. Wyatt shot up from his chair. You got an accident. No, Leo explained quickly. I was already back at the dorm. I scraped it on the curb when I was parallel parking. Is it bad? I'll send you a picture. Leo snapped a photo and sent it to Wyatt's phone. Maybe I should take it to an auto body shop right now. See if they can fix it. Wyatt opened the picture. It didn't go through the clear coat, he replied quickly. I'll buy a touch-up pen and fix it myself later. I thought you were in a wreck. As long as you're okay, that's all that matters. A scratch is just a scratch. Hearing this, Leo was so moved he didn't know what to say. If this had been his own new car and he'd lent it to someone who scraped it, he would have been furious. He had braced himself for an epic chewing out, but Wyatt had just brushed it off. Even blood brothers, how many would be this cool about it? Leo was a big softy at heart. A wave of emotion washed over him, and his eyes started to sting. Wyatt, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have borrowed your car today. Christ, don't be such a girl about it. Wyatt shot back. It's a damn car. A scratch is no big deal. Anyway, I gotta go talk to my girlfriend. Later. Before Leo could reply, Wyatt hung up. The 15th day of the lunar month. The Lantern Festival. Leo was up at the crack of dawn. Even though Wyatt had said not to worry about the car, Leo couldn't let it go. He was out of bed before 7, skipped breakfast, and drove straight to an auto body shop. He dropped the car off for the paint job and went to a nearby diner for a couple of sausage biscuits. Around 10:30, the car was ready. Leo inspected it carefully. Seeing that it looked good as new, he finally felt the weight lift from his shoulders. He drove to the subway station nearest to the Juilliard campus and waited. About 20 minutes later, Wyatt emerged. He walked over to the passenger side, glanced at the fender, and frowned. Leo, you messing with me? It looks fine. Leo grinned. I took it to get touched up first thing this morning. The guy said not to wash it for a couple of days. You've got too much time on your hands. Leo handed the keys back to Wyatt and slid into the passenger seat. Wyatt drove them to the girls' dorm. He sent Cece a quick voice message. I'm here. You guys can come down. 5 or 6 minutes later, Cece, Isabel, and Sophie came downstairs. Cece was dressed simply today in a gray hoodie over a white t-shirt, paired with a plain black A-line skirt. A cream-colored baseball cap perched on her head made her look extra sweet. Isabel, as usual, was the most fashion-forward of the group, wearing a chic women's blazer over a black miniskirt. A pair of non-prescription glasses was the finishing touch, an accessory that guaranteed she'd turn heads. As for Sophie, she was in a classic college girl outfit, a baseball jacket, jeans, and Converse sneakers. Wyatt, I can't believe you actually bought a car, Isabel said. Yeah, and now I'm broke. Don't invite me to anything that costs more than $50. Tell that to someone who'll believe you. Wyatt laughed and drove them toward the mall. Isabel had already laid out the plan for the afternoon and evening in their group chat. A casual lunch, a movie, a nice dinner, and then a trip to the Brooklyn Bridge Park to see the skyline at night. Wyatt wanted to say that all the new release movies were garbage, but then he figured there wasn't much else to do, so he kept his mouth shut. For lunch, the 5 of them found a mall and went to the food court in the basement, settling on a popular spicy hot pot spot. The tables were all 4-seaters, so Wyatt pulled Cece over to a 2-person table nearby. Isabel sat next to Sophie without a hint of awkwardness, but Leo was miserable. With Isabel there, he felt like he couldn't get a word in. So when Isabel got up to go to the restroom, Leo followed her out. He bought 2 boba teas from the shop next door and waited by the restroom entrance. When Isabel came out, he walked up and handed one to her. Isabel frowned. For me? Leo nodded. Yeah. Seeing his expression, Isabel knew he had something to say. Just spit it out, she said. Leo had wanted to ask her to stop making things difficult for him, but saying it outright would be too hurtful. He couldn't bring himself to do it. But Isabel was sharp. She smiled. You want me to help you win over Sophie, don't you? I'd be grateful if you just didn't sabotage me, Leo thought. But he nodded anyway. Isabel took a sip of her boba. I can help you, she said with a smirk. But is this all you're offering? Sophie and I are best friends, you know. Leo hadn't expected her to agree to help. He quickly clasped his hands together in a gesture of respect. If Sophie agrees to be my girlfriend, I will reward you handsomely one day. Pfft. Isabel rolled her eyes, washing her hands. Did Wyatt put you up to this? Yeah. What did he say? He said you're Sophie's master strategist. And to get to her, I have to get through you first. Master strategist? Isabel flicked the water from her hands and huffed. That bastard Wyatt. Slandering me behind my back again. Don't tell her I told you, Leo said, then hurried back to the hot pot restaurant. Payback came swiftly. After lunch, they headed to the movie theater. Isabel volunteered to buy the tickets, 5 seats, all in a row. Leo was on the far inside, Wyatt on the far outside, and Sophie, Isabel, and Cece were sandwiched in the middle. Wyatt had figured the movie would be terrible, but at least he could sit next to Cece, hold her hand, maybe give her leg a little squeeze, build some intimacy. But as soon as they sat down, Isabel lifted the armrest between her and Cece, and the two girls leaned their heads together like best friends at a sleepover. Wyatt shot them a look, feeling utterly defeated. That damn Isabel, he thought. Can't find a boyfriend herself, so she has to steal mine. Serves her right she's single. The movie was 50 Shades of Grey. It was, as predicted, a total train wreck. Wyatt lasted 20 minutes before he gave up, leaned back in his seat, and fell asleep. He didn't wake up until the credits rolled and Cece gently patted his hand. It was still early. After leaving the theater, Sophie suggested a walk outside the mall. The weather was nice, so everyone agreed. Now Isabel can't possibly interfere, Wyatt thought. But as they stepped off the escalator, just as Wyatt was about to reach for Cece's hand, Isabel swooped in, linked her arm through Cece's, and they happily skipped ahead. Leo glanced at Wyatt, suspecting Isabel was getting her revenge, and guiltily hurried to catch up with Sophie. Wyatt knew Isabel was doing it on purpose. But for every move, there is a countermove. He wasn't about to let her win. After a few minutes of walking, he led the group to a nearby pool hall. Wyatt rented 2 tables. He picked up the cue ball and walked over to Cece with a smile. Know how to play? Cece had never played pool in her life. This was her first time even setting foot in a pool hall. She quickly shook her head. Wyatt grabbed her wrist. Don't worry, I'll teach you. He walked over to the table, expertly racked the balls, and handed a cue stick to Cece. She looked up at him, her eyes wide. How do I hold it? Like this, Wyatt instructed, positioning her hands. Now I'll show you how to shoot. First, bend over like me and line up the shot. Cece bent over, holding the cue awkwardly. Wyatt stood directly behind her, bending over as well. Their upper bodies were practically pressed together, his hands covering hers as they gripped the stick. The position was so intimate that Cece's face flushed. She tried to turn her head away, but Wyatt insisted she watch the ball, so she obediently complied. Ready? She mumbled. Ready. Wyatt saw his moment and smoothly struck the cue ball. The tightly packed triangle of balls exploded, 2 of them sinking directly into the pockets. It was Cece's first time, and seeing the balls go in, she shouted with excitement. They went in. They went in, did you see? I saw, Wyatt said with a smile. Let's keep going. He looked up and shot a glance at Isabel, flashing a peace sign in a clear gesture of provocation. Isabel responded with a contemptuous middle finger and mouthed 2 words, silent but clear. Wyatt read her lips easily. Player. Leo, witnessing the exchange, thought to himself, this is what it looks like when titans clash. He watched Wyatt and Cece playing so sweetly and thought about trying the same move on Sophie. But it turned out Sophie already knew how to play. After some questioning, she explained that her uncle had a pool table at his house, and she used to play with her cousins all the time as a kid, though she wasn't very good. With that, Leo and Sophie started their own game. Isabel looked at Leo and Sophie on the left, then at Wyatt and Cece on the right. Finally, she plopped down onto a stool in frustration, crossed her arms, and huffily snapped a picture to send to Ashley. Ashley, huh? How's it feel to be the third wheel? Isabel, awful. Isabel, I am definitely finding a boyfriend this year. Isabel, definitely. Ashley, I can set you up with my cousin. Isabel, is he hot? Ashley, he's okay. Ashley, does he have abs? Ashley, yes. Ashley, does a 1-pack count? Isabel, get lost. At 5:30 in the evening, the 5 of them returned to the mall, planning to get hot pot for dinner. The mall, which had been relatively quiet during the day, was now packed. They had to wait for a full 40 minutes before a table opened up. After Wyatt ordered, they all started cleaning their tableware with hot water. Wyatt washed a set of bowls and chopsticks, handed them to Cece, then picked up another pair of chopsticks with a grin. Isabel, see this? Isabel glanced over, annoyed. They're chopsticks. Wyatt smirked. See? Even the chopsticks come in pairs. Why are you still single? Isabel pointed a finger at Wyatt, fuming. Cece, look at him. He's so annoying. To defend her friend, Cece pinched Wyatt's thigh under the table. Wyatt immediately feigned a look of immense pain. Isabel rolled her eyes. Oh, stop acting. Next time, I'd rather stay in the dorm alone than go out with you guys. You're the one who declared war this afternoon, Wyatt retorted. And I still lost to you, you damn player, Wyatt teased. I thought your school was full of handsome guys. Is no one chasing you? Tons of them, Isabel said with a wave of her hand, sighing like a world-weary sage. But they're all trash. Not a single one I'd even consider. Your standards are too high. I haven't even told you my standards. How do you know they're too high? Since the hot pot hadn't arrived yet, Wyatt ran with the topic. All right, lay it on me. First, he has to be decent looking. Just clean and presentable. That's not too much to ask, right? Fair. I can accept someone up to 5 years older than me. But if he's already graduated, he needs to have a stable job. If he's still in school, his education level can't be lower than mine. That's not too much to ask, right? Fair. Family-wise, I don't need him to be super rich, but we can't be in completely different worlds. I'm not looking for a sugar daddy, but I'm not signing up for charity work either. That's not too much to ask, right? Fair. Besides those 3 things, he just can't have any bad habits. You know, smoking, heavy drinking, gambling, cheating. Wyatt laughed. You haven't even mentioned personality. Based on those 3 points, the guy will probably be completely clueless about romance. Whatever. It's fine if he's a little dense. I can whip him into shape. Wyatt immediately gave her a thumbs up. You're a legend, Isabel. Seriously, Wyatt said, laughing. If I ever meet a guy who fits your criteria, I'll definitely introduce you. As long as you promise to stop being the dorm's master strategist. You've got some nerve calling me that, she shot back. Aren't you Leo's master strategist? This wasn't the first time any of them had been to the Brooklyn Bridge Park waterfront. Finding a parking spot, however, was a nightmare. Wyatt circled for ages before finally finding a paid lot about a mile away. The waterfront was always busy, but tonight it was teeming with people. It took them a while to navigate the crowds and find a spot by the railing. Across the East River, the Manhattan skyline glittered. Sophie and Isabel immediately took out their phones to snap pictures and send them to their families. Seeing this, Wyatt did the same, sending a photo to his mom. After taking a picture, Cece hesitated, wondering if she should post it in the Evans Family Funhouse group chat. The name still made her feel a little shy. She nudged Wyatt and showed him her phone. Wyatt glanced at the photo she'd just taken. Send it to the group chat, he said immediately. Let your parents see we're out celebrating the Lantern Festival. I'm not sending it, Cece said, her tone deliberately defiant. Wyatt snatched the phone from her hand and posted the picture in the group chat himself. Cece knew he would. He was like a mind reader, always guessing her true intentions, so she didn't even try to stop him. Miranda replied almost instantly, first with 3 thumbs-up emojis, then with a message. Cece, are you with your roommates or with Wyatt? Wyatt switched Cece's phone to selfie mode, wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and leaned in close. Okay, look at the camera and smile. Ugh, you're so annoying. Before Cece could push him away, Wyatt had already snapped several photos. He sent the best one to the group chat and typed, I'm here. Cece's roommates are here too. Charles popped up in the chat. Get back to campus at a reasonable hour. Be safe. The concerned father, worried his message sounded too preachy, followed up with a red envelope for the group. Wyatt used Cece's phone to open it first. She got $30. He immediately switched to his own phone and snagged over 90. Charles, after sending it, tapped it himself and got only 20. He'd been stewing all day, thinking that if Cece were still home, he'd have an excuse to visit Miranda. The thought of Wyatt spiriting his daughter away before the semester even started irked him. He typed in the chat, a guy with a different last name got more than our whole family combined. Wyatt saw the message and refused to back down. He tagged Miranda and typed, Mom, someone's looking down on us outsiders. What the hell? Charles was stunned. He hadn't expected Wyatt to exploit that loophole so quickly. This little bastard has no shame. Sitting on her sofa, Miranda saw Wyatt's message and typed back with a fond smile, Don't listen to him. He's full of hot air. Wyatt grinned and replied with 3 simple words, Love you. Seeing Wyatt's mischievous smile, Cece knew he must have said something outrageous in the chat. She quickly unlocked her phone to look. Her fair skin instantly turned a deep shade of crimson. That dork actually called her mom. Even though Cece hadn't sent the message, she was so embarrassed she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Wyatt acted as if nothing had happened. Seeing her blush, he feigned innocence. "What's wrong with you?" Cece looked up, her expression playfully fierce. "If you say one more crazy thing, I'm going to bite you." Wyatt pretended to be terrified, shaking his head. I won't. The teeth marks from last time took 2 days to fade. Good, as long as you know, but a little bite on the lips is still okay. Cece was so flustered she lifted her foot to stomp on his. Wyatt quickly stepped back. Seeing she wasn't giving up, he turned and ran. "Get back here," Cece yelled, chasing after him. Isabel leaned against the railing, watching them run off. She shook her head and sighed. The sickening stench of love. Sophie giggled at the comment. She didn't know that beside her, Leo was staring intently at her left hand, the one that wasn't holding her purse. Finally shook them. After running about 200 yards, Wyatt stopped, letting Cece catch up and pinch him, though it was all painless. "If you ever talk like that in the group chat again, I'm kicking you out," Cece warned him once more. Wyatt readily agreed, though he had no intention of changing. Besides, he was the group admin. She couldn't kick him out anyway. He opened his arms and pulled her into a hug, comforting her with a smile. All right, your mom's not mad, so you don't have to be. Let go of me, just for a little while. It's okay. Isabel and the others can't see. You're always like this." "I'm heading back tonight," Wyatt said softly. "The next time you see me will be in 5 days." At that, Cece stopped squirming. She rested quietly in his arms. The noise of the crowd around them seemed to fade, replaced by the strong, steady beat of Wyatt's heart. She slowly wrapped her arms around his waist, a profound sense of security washing over her. One of Wyatt's hands rested on her back, the other gently on her head. She smelled sweet and creamy, like a freshly unwrapped white rabbit candy, an intoxicating scent. He couldn't help but pull her a little tighter, unwilling to let go. People bustled around them, but no one paid them any special attention. The waterfront was filled with countless couples just like them tonight. Just then, Wyatt sighed softly. "I have a regret," he whispered. "Regret what?" Cece asked, curious. "I should have applied to your school. Then I could be with you every day." Cece dug her fingers into the small of his back and mumbled, her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. "We'd get sick of each other if we were together every day." "I wouldn't." "How do you know you wouldn't?" "Because I know we're going to spend the rest of our lives together." Cece huffed, annoyed and embarrassed. "You don't get to say things like that without my permission." Wyatt gently stroked her hair, his eyes full of adoration. "So, do I have your permission?" "I'm not saying right now." "Then when will you say?" "I don't know. I've noticed something." "What?" "In all this time, you've never once said you love me or even that you like me." Cece's cheeks burned. She didn't know how to respond. "I'm giving you a chance right now," Wyatt continued. "Just say it once for me." "No, there are too many people here. Just whisper it." "They won't hear." Cece glanced around, considered it for a moment, then tugged on his sleeve. "Then come down a little," she whispered. Wyatt bent down, bringing his ear close to her lips. Cece cupped her hands around his ear, rose slightly onto her tiptoes, and whispered, "I like you." As she spoke, the warm breath from her lips tickled his ear, making it flush red. If they weren't underage and he had a ring in his pocket, Wyatt would have dropped to one knee and proposed right then and there. He was so in love. After she uttered those 3 words, he pulled her back into his arms. It stood like that for a long time. Only when they saw Leo and the others approaching did Wyatt take Cece's hand and join them for a stroll along the riverbank. The March air along the East River was thick with the promise of spring. A gentle breeze rippled across the water, and the willows on the bank swayed gracefully. Tour boats crisscrossed the river, their lights dancing. Across the water, the modern skyscrapers of Manhattan stood in brilliant contrast to the historic buildings along the Brooklyn waterfront, creating a unique and beautiful tableau. Feeling that the surrounding noise clashed with the scenery, Cece pulled a pair of earbuds from her bag. She put one in her ear and nudged Wyatt, handing him the other. They hadn't walked far when they saw a street performer singing. A small crowd of young people gathered around him. Isabel spotted them and immediately dragged Sophie over to watch. Back then, street performers like this were a bit of a rarity. In a couple of years, once short-form video platforms took off, you'd see people live-streaming their outdoor performances all over the city. Seeing the girls join the crowd, Wyatt and Cece followed. After listening for a moment, Isabel leaned over to Cece and whispered, "He's kind of mediocre, isn't he?" She wasn't lying. The young man's singing and guitar playing were average at best. To the untrained ear, it was impressive enough, but as Juilliard students, Isabel and her friends could easily tell the difference. Yeah, pretty average, Wyatt agreed. Hearing this, Isabel immediately started stirring the pot. Wyatt, when he's done, I dare you to go up there and sing a song. You think I have nothing better to do? So you're scared. That reverse psychology won't work on me. Unless there's something tangible in it for me. Isabel didn't hesitate. You go sing a song, and next time, I'll sneak you a picture of Cecil's legs. Wyatt's eyes widened. What kind of person do you take me for? I'll have you know I'm a perfect gentleman. But if you're a woman of your word. Deal. Cece. The two quickly struck their deal. The moment the performer finished his song, Isabel shot Wyatt an expectant look. In his past life, Wyatt would have been terrified of performing in front of so many people. But having died once, he couldn't care less about saving face. He walked straight up to the performer and asked politely, Hey man, mind if I borrow your stage for a minute? Of course, the young man said, handing over his guitar and his spot. Wyatt took a moment to tune the guitar, his mind racing through potential songs. After a quick search, a classic song popped into his head, one that was perfect for the moment. He strummed a chord and began to sing, his voice rich and magnetic. Where do I begin? To tell the story of how great a love can be. He was singing John Legend's All of Me, a massive, emotional ballad from 2013 that everyone knew. By the time he reached the chorus, the crowd was already singing along. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Phones came out all around them, recording the impromptu concert. Cece saw several girls filming Wyatt, and a pang of jealousy hit her. She was starting to regret daring him to sing. When Wyatt finished, he set the guitar down and walked back toward her. Seeing all eyes on her, Cece grabbed his wrist and pulled him quickly away from the scene. A chorus of cheers and whistles erupted from the crowd, making her blush even harder. The group wandered along the waterfront until 9:30 before deciding to head back. By now, they were a long way from the parking lot. After walking for about 15 minutes, Sophie sat down on a stone bench by the path, stretching out her legs and rubbing them. I can't walk anymore, she said plaintively. Leo looked at Sophie, then at the time on his phone. He walked over to Wyatt. Hey, why don't we go get the car, and you guys wait here? Wyatt nodded. I can go by myself. You stay here. All right. Wyatt handed his bag to Cece and was about to head to the parking lot alone when she spoke up. I'll go with you. Aren't you tired? You can rest here. Cece shook her head stubbornly. She figured walking with him would give them a little more time together. She hadn't even realized how clingy she was becoming. Seeing her determination, Wyatt couldn't refuse. He took her small hand, and they continued toward the parking lot. Once the semester starts, my advisor will probably pile a ton of work on me. I'll try to get it all done by Friday. If I can't make it this weekend, I'll text you beforehand. Okay, drive safe. There's a lot of traffic. I'll text you when I get back to campus, but it'll probably be late. I'll wait up. As they were talking, Cece wasn't paying attention and missed a step. If Wyatt hadn't caught her with his lightning-fast reflexes, she would have fallen. You tell me to be careful, and you're the one not watching where you're going, he said, half laughing, half annoyed. Cece's expression was pained. I think I twisted my ankle. Wyatt quickly helped her to a nearby bench and knelt in front of her. Which one? He asked, his face full of concern. My left foot. Wyatt cradled her ankle, lifting it gently. The moment he tried to rotate it, she yelped in pain. He carefully removed her shoe and rolled down her white sock. He rubbed his palms together until they were warm, then cupped them around her ankle. The warmth immediately dulled the pain. Cece bit her lip, trying not to make another sound. Still hurt. A little. Cece's skin was naturally fair, a result of spending most of her time indoors. It was rare to find a girl with a lighter complexion. She even used foot masks, making her feet look like warm, polished jade, delicate and lovely. Wyatt started by massaging her ankle with the lightest pressure, gradually increasing the force. Cece watched the people passing by, then looked down at Wyatt kneeling before her, rubbing her foot. Her heart began to race, and a faint blush crept onto her cheeks. Okay, that's enough, she finally said. Wyatt pulled her sock back up, put her shoe on, and then turned around, crouching in front of her. Get on. I'll carry you. I can walk. No arguing. Get on. You're being mean again. Cece lightly slapped his back but stood up and slowly climbed onto his back, her arms wrapping around his neck. Wyatt stood up easily, his hands supporting her thighs, and started walking with a brisk pace. Don't we look like a scene from a cheesy rom-com right now? He joked. You're the cheesy one, and you're my leading lady. On impulse, Cece leaned in and playfully bit the side of his neck, leaving a small, Red Love Bite. It took Wyatt half an hour to drive Cece and her friends back to their campus. After dropping them off, he turned to Leo. I'm worried my dorm will be locked by the time I get back. I can drop you at a subway station, and you can get back on your own? Sure. That was what Leo was planning anyway. It was getting late. Wyatt grinned. Still no luck holding Sophie's hand today? Nope, Leo said, his face a mask of misery. I kept looking for a chance, but every time I was about to go for it, it was like she knew. She just never gave me an opening. Haha, guess you're not there yet. Just be patient. Leo let out a long sigh. I don't know when my relationship with Sophie will be like yours with Cece. You're a lucky bastard, you know that. It's all right, I guess. Stop playing humble. You guys were gone for a long time earlier. Were you making out in the car? Nope. Bullshit. You've got a hickey on your neck. Wyatt stopped at a red light, clapped Leo on the shoulder, and said with mock solemnity, You think being in a relationship is all sunshine and rainbows? You think I'm as happy as you imagine? You're wrong. My happiness is something you can't even begin to comprehend. Wyatt, you son of a bitch. Hey, no hitting, I'm driving. I'm gonna rip that smug look off your face. Damn it. Why are you pulling on my shirt? Anyone who saw us would think we're a couple. The next day, classes officially began. The excitement of being back after the break was palpable. Before the professor arrived, the classroom was buzzing with chatter. Shortly after Wyatt sat down, Hannah, a diligent classmate who always sat in the front row, walked over to him. Wyatt, the student advisor wants to see you in her office after class. Okay, got it. How'd you do on finals last semester? Hannah asked casually. During finals, she had sat in front of Wyatt, planning to let him copy her answers. But by the time she was done, Wyatt had already finished copying off of Sam. Wyatt laughed. I passed everything. How about you? Hannah pouted, not quite satisfied. I only got second place. The top spot went to your roommate, Sam. Sam's always studying in the dorm. It's no surprise he got first. As a highly competitive student, Hannah naturally wanted to be number one, but she knew how hard-working Sam was. She just smiled and returned to her seat. The sophomore spring semester schedule was similar to the fall's, with many of the same professors. When the bell rang, the classroom quieted down. The moment the lecture started, Wyatt felt a wave of drowsiness. Halfway through the first class, he got a text from Vivian. She'd hired an e-commerce manager, and the online store they'd registered was under review. She wanted to know what the next step was. Wyatt couldn't send a voice message, so he typed back, start on the designs. Vivian, I've been trying, but I have no idea where to start. Wyatt, why not? Vivian, I've never been in this line of business before. Wyatt, look at what your competitors are doing. Design similar styles. Vivian, I've decided to only hire female employees. Otherwise, it's just too embarrassing. Wyatt, making money is what matters. Vivian, I found some reference photos. Want to take a look? Wyatt, send them over. Vivian, image, Vivian, image, Vivian, image. Wyatt glanced at the pictures and replied immediately. These are all wrong. Vivian, why? Vivian, it took me forever to pick these out. Wyatt, I don't feel anything looking at them. Vivian, what do you mean you don't feel anything? Wyatt, I mean they don't get me hard. Wyatt, we're selling lingerie. It has to have some visual impact. At the very least, it should make someone's heart race and their blood pump. Vivian, you're such a perv. Vivian, does Cece know about this side of you? Wyatt, boss, please be serious. We're talking about work. Vivian, fine. Give me some suggestions. Wyatt, I'll give you some keyword for reference. You can search for them yourself. Wyatt, maid, flight attendant, nurse, secretary. Wyatt, garters, lace, frills, crotchless. Vivian, 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 Wyatt, oh Wyatt, you are truly one of a kind. Wyatt, so after chatting with Wyatt for half an hour, Vivian returned to her computer to search for inspiration. She had studied fashion design in college, and though it had been a while, the foundation was still there. She started searching the keywords Wyatt had given her, and her browser was instantly flooded with relevant pages. She clicked on a few links. Some of the sites had strange, animated pop-up ads. Her hand slipped, and she accidentally clicked on one, which opened a new link. Staring at the new images on her screen, Vivian's eyes widened in disbelief. Just as she was getting completely absorbed, Pam walked up behind her. She had been coming to tell Vivian that a candidate for the graphic designer position had arrived for an interview. But when she saw the screen, her face turned beet red. Boss, are you? You? Vivian, who had just discovered a whole new world, slammed the browser shut. She forced a calm expression. I was looking for design inspiration and accidentally clicked on one of these weird websites. Pam looked mortified. Boss, are we really going to make these kinds of clothes? Wyatt says it's profitable. The fashion industry is so competitive these days. This is a shortcut. But it's so embarrassing. It's fine. I'll try to hire only women. What did you need? Oh, Someone's here for an interview. Okay, Vivian said quickly. Take her to the conference room and tell her I'll be right there. Pam nodded and left the office. Once Pam was gone, Vivian reopened her browser, saved the web page to her bookmarks, and then finally got up from her desk. That evening, she sent a new batch of reference photos to Wyatt. He replied with several thumbs-up emojis. Vivian, I'll try to get the design sketches done within a week. Then we can start sourcing fabric. Wyatt, good. We don't need high-end fabric. Vivian, why not? Wyatt, because some clothes are meant to be worn, and some are meant to be torn. Besides, some people might wear them for a couple of days and then sell them. To save on costs, average material is fine. The return rate on this stuff is really low anyway. Vivian, sell them after wearing them? Wyatt, you have so much to learn. Vivian, I don't get it. Explain. Wyatt, nope. Not for kids. Send me the designs when you're done. Vivian, not for kids? Vivian, give me your mom's number. I need to ask her how she raised such a brilliant entrepreneur. Wyatt, new semester, new beginnings. The spring semester had one more class than the fall, and everyone had to take an online elective. The good news was that Friday afternoons were still free, meaning the weekend started after the 2 morning classes. The company's business quickly returned to normal, with profits looking good. Jessica went to the office every night to tally the accounts and would send the daily revenue figures to Wyatt. As for the fresh market, it was much the same as last year, with daily sales hovering within a consistent range. Wyatt had become a hands-off manager, entrusting the store entirely to Sam and Valerie, only occasionally dropping a few red envelopes in the customer group chat to keep things lively. Since Wyatt was often seen driving around campus, more and more people recognized him. Word had spread that he not only owned the market on the food truck strip, but had also started a trading company. Rumors swirled that he had made a lot of money last year. Fame has its price. On Friday morning, just as Wyatt got to class, a few people from the Student Government Association showed up looking for him. The 2 leading the group were Jason, the SGA's Director of External Affairs, and Lily, the Vice Director. Can I help you? Wyatt asked, getting straight to the point. We're organizing a campus singer competition in April, Jason explained. Our department is in charge of getting sponsors and funding. We were wondering if you'd be interested in sponsoring the event. Wyatt listened and then asked, What's in it for me? Jason seemed to have anticipated the question. We'll advertise your fresh market, and the host will give you a shout-out on stage. Wyatt knew that kind of advertising had limited impact, but since the market was on campus and catered to students, it was a good gesture. How much are you looking for? The vice director, Lily, spoke up. The minimum is $500, with no upper limit. But we'll arrange the advertising based on the sponsorship amount. If, and I'm just saying if, I offered $3,000, could you hang a banner for me on the main stage? No problem. Jason and Lily had been tasked with fundraising and had already approached many local businesses. Most weren't interested, and the few who were had only offered the minimum of $500. If Wyatt alone contributed $3,000, it would save them a ton of work. They agreed without hesitation. Wyatt nodded. All right, I have class soon. Let's exchange numbers. I'll send you the money later, and then I'll have someone from my team coordinate with you. Sound good? Lily quickly pulled out her phone and displayed her QR code. Jason, seeing how eager she was, could only put his phone away. We'll get out of your hair then. See ya. Bye. Wyatt returned to his seat, where Chris immediately asked, What do the SGA want? They're holding some kind of campus singer competition and wanted a sponsorship, Wyatt said with a laugh. And you agreed? Yep. Chris didn't get it. That's not worth it. Our market is already famous on campus. Advertising here won't do much. I know, Wyatt said, saving Lily's contact information. That's why I'm planning to use this to launch another promotion. Corner Organics started a discount event as soon as the semester began. This time, I'm going to show them how a real promotion is done. Seeing Wyatt's confident expression, Chris didn't say anything more. After saving the contact, Wyatt tapped on Lily's profile picture. It was a photo of herself. It was rare for college students to use their own picture as an avatar, which suggested she was very confident in her looks. Just as Wyatt was about to put his phone away, Alex leaned over, grabbed his wrist, and stared at the screen. Wyatt, who's that? Someone from the SGA who was just here. Can you send me your contact? What is it, spring? Mating season for you again. Alex practically melted into Wyatt's arms, rubbing his head on his chest and whining. Bro, I'm begging you. I'll be your loyal servant in the next life. Get off me. Dad, I'll send you her info at lunch. Dad, you're the best. Chris shook his head, laughing. Alex, weren't you talking to some girl online last year? What happened? You break up. Online relationships are unreliable. I still haven't even seen a picture of her. Heh, no wonder. Wyatt saw the professor walk to the podium to start the class. He lowered his voice. We haven't had a team get-together since the semester started. Let's get everyone together for lunch. Valerie, Jessica, Ruby, Megan, all of them. Got it. At noon, Wyatt made 2 trips in his car to bring the whole company crew to Metro Center Plaza. After some discussion, they decided on a casual eatery with a great patio. During the meal, Wyatt told them about his morning encounter with the SGA. Ruby listened and then said with a grin, "Boss, we don't need to sponsor them. If you just enter the competition and win, won't that be better than any advertisement?" Wyatt had played guitar and sung at the freshman welcome gala, and Ruby had been on Jessica's dance team, so she knew he was talented. But Wyatt had zero interest in a campus singing competition. In college, winning something like that got you no real reward, other than maybe so-called priority mating rights. He already had CC. He had no desire to participate. Forget it. I don't have time for that. The reason I'm telling you this is to brainstorm what kind of promotion we should run with this opportunity. A promotion? Another one? Yeah, we can't let that $3,000 go to waste. I'm thinking besides a discount event to the market, should we also promote the company? How would we promote the company? I was thinking of getting a batch of those promotional fans made. On one side, we'll print the market's event info, and on the other, our company's franchise information. Franchise? Yeah, we hired all those salespeople last year and haven't closed many deals. I was thinking of switching to a franchise model. The partnership terms would stay the same. They provide the location, and we provide the equipment, installation, and supply chain. Then we split the profits with the franchisee. Jessica said, "You decide. Making money is your specialty. We don't know anything about it." Exactly, Alex chimed in. "You have a natural talent for being a ruthless businessman." "Ruthless, am I?" Wyatt said with a calm expression. "Do you still want Lily's contact info?" "Bro, I was wrong." Wyatt ignored him, took a few bites of food, and then began to lecture them. Actually, the saying, "it takes a thief to catch a thief," is a bastardization of an older, more positive phrase. It used to be that if a person was highly skilled but not very successful, it was probably because they were a good person. Whoa, Alex said. That actually makes a lot of sense. In the end, Wyatt sent Lily's contact info to Alex. He even gave him an opportunity to interact with her by putting him in charge of handling all the sponsorship details for the campus singer competition. It was the most support he could offer. Among his 3 roommates, Chris and Paige were a match made in heaven. Their parents would probably riot if they didn't get married. Sam was unlikely to date in college. He had no interest, and it wasn't the right time for him anyway. That just left Alex, who had been clamoring for a girlfriend since the first day of freshman year, but was still single. Wyatt didn't know Lily, but since Alex was interested, he didn't mind giving him a little push. After lunch, Alex returned to the dorm and, under the guise of being the sponsor's representative, started chatting with Lily. She didn't know him, but was polite, and they talked for the whole lunch break. Just before class, she sent a message. "I have to go to class now. Can we talk later?" After replying with an okay, Alex opened her social media feed. Lily posted almost every day, and each post came with a photo. Some were just snapshots of her life, others were selfies. As Alex scrolled, a lecherous grin spread across his face. Chris glanced at him. "What are you looking at? You look like a total creep. This Lily girl. I'm so in love. I seem to recall you saying the same thing when you first met Amber." "That was different," Alex said with conviction. "Back then, I was just horny. This time, I think I really like her. Here, look." He handed his phone to Chris, who took it and glanced at the screen. "What year is she?" "A junior." "So she's older than you. I like older women. You know, the whole older woman, younger man dynamic." Chris chuckled and handed the phone back. Alex went back to staring at the screen. "Well, isn't she gorgeous?" "Not as gorgeous as Paige." "Well, her boobs are bigger than your girlfriend's." Guys and girls had completely different ways of comparing their partners. In a guy's dorm, a conversation about girlfriends would go like this. Guy 1, "My girlfriend is so pretty." Guy 2, "My girlfriend is prettier, and she has big boobs." Guy 3, "My girlfriend is super pretty, has big boobs and long legs." But in a girl's dorm, it would be, Girl 1, "My boyfriend is such a doofus." Girl 2, "Is he as much of a doofus as my boyfriend?" Girl 3, "My boyfriend isn't just a doofus, he's a total idiot." Chris just laughed at Alex's comment and didn't pursue the topic, only reminding him, "Don't forget what Wyatt asked you to do. If you screw this up, he won't give you another chance." "I know. I'm looking on Amazon right now to see if they sell those fans Wyatt was talking about." After lunch, Wyatt drove straight to Juilliard. He left at 12:40 and was parked outside the girls' dorm by 1:25. When he texted Cece, she and her roommates had just woken up from a nap and were getting ready for class. Wyatt waited downstairs for 5 or 6 minutes before Cece, Isabel, Ashley, and Sophie came down, each carrying a book. Cece hurried over to him. Didn't I tell you I have class this afternoon? Why are you here so early? I don't have class. I had nothing to do on campus, so I just came over. So what now? Wyatt was about to say he could wait in the car, but Ashley chimed in, why don't you just have him come to class with us? Wyatt scratched his head. Is that allowed? Our afternoon class is sight singing and ear training. It's in a huge lecture hall with over 100 people. No one will notice you. It was true. In a big university lecture, a few missing students might get noticed, but a few extra ones would go completely ignored. Isabel grinned. It's a 90-minute class. Cece definitely won't want you waiting in the car for that long. Just come with us. All right, fine. The Juilliard campus wasn't large, and it didn't take long to get from the dorm to the academic building. Soon, Wyatt was following the four of them into the building. When they reached the lecture hall, it was already filled with students. Anyone else might have felt intimidated, but Wyatt's skin was thick. He strolled in with Cece and found a seat in the back. The hall could hold about 200 people. Even with several classes combined, it was never full and students often skipped. The gender ratio, however, was staggering. At least 8 to 2, almost all girls. Just as the bell rang, a few more students rushed in, trying to beat the clock. Wyatt recognized two of them, Landon and Josh. Wyatt had treated Landon to a meal once, and the encounter had left a deep impression on him. The second time they'd met was in the instrument room, when Wyatt was helping Isabel and the others with their song. They'd only briefly acknowledged each other, but Landon still had the business card Wyatt had given him. Landon hadn't noticed Wyatt at first. It was Josh who saw a guy sitting next to Cece and pointed him out. Landon followed his friend's finger and saw Wyatt. His eyes widened. Wyatt? What's he doing here? Curious, Landon sat down with his 3 roommates on the other side of the aisle. Wyatt saw them too. When he noticed Landon looking at him, he gave a friendly wave. Landon pretended not to see and shot him a glare. You little punk, Wyatt thought. All I did was show you up twice. Still holding a grudge? All right, let's begin, a slightly plump female professor said from the front of the room. Last class, we discussed the concept of pitch and interval recognition. Today, we'll be covering triads. Although Wyatt had never taken a class like this before, he had watched countless tutorials on YouTube when he was learning guitar in his past life. He was familiar with basic music theory and ear training. He listened with genuine interest for about 15 minutes, probably paying more attention than most of the actual students in the room. The first half of the class flew by. After a 10-minute break, the professor resumed the lecture. Just now, we discussed major, minor, augmented, and diminished triads. All right, now I'd like to call on a student. I'll play a triad, and you'll tell me the notes that form it. Let's see how good your ear is. The moment the professor said this, a sea of heads in the classroom dropped, as if they were afraid of being called on. The scene reminded Wyatt of elementary school, when the teacher would call on students to answer questions. He couldn't help but smile. Just then, you, in the back row, wearing the black shirt, you give it a try. Seeing the professor on the stage, staring directly at him, Wyatt was bewildered. He pointed to himself. Me? Yes, you. Wyatt's face fell. Cece, Isabel, and the others were completely caught off guard. They never imagined the professor would call on Wyatt. Across the aisle, Landon saw Wyatt's stunned expression as he stood up, and a smirk spread across his face. The rest of you, be quiet. You listen carefully. The professor walked over to the piano at the side of the stage and sat down. The large lecture hall fell silent. Everyone strained their ears, tried to see if they could identify the notes themselves. Wyatt sighed, a look of helpless resignation on his face. The professor first played a standard reference note on the piano, then quickly followed with a triad. After she played it, she looked expectantly at Wyatt. Just as Wyatt was about to speak, Landon suddenly raised his hand, a look of pure schadenfreude on his face. Professor Liu, he's not a student at our school. He's just here crashing the class. Landon's announcement caused everyone to turn their attention back to Wyatt. Many of the students already knew Cece had a boyfriend, but for most, this was the first time they had seen him. Now, seeing him sitting next to her, they realized he must be the legendary boyfriend. Over 100 pairs of eyes were fixed on Wyatt. If he hadn't been so thick-skinned, he would have panicked. Beside him, Cece's head was bowed, her face crimson. She had never imagined something like this would happen. And, of all the times for the professor to call on someone, she'd picked Wyatt. Professor Liu at the piano frowned, her tone laced with displeasure. Not a student here? Young man, are you treating my classroom as your personal date spot? Landon's grin widened. Cece desperately wanted to stand up and explain, but she didn't know what to say. In that awkward moment, Wyatt spoke. D, F sharp, B. Wyatt's sudden answer plunged the classroom back into confusion. Some students immediately looked toward Professor Liu. Hearing Wyatt state the 3 notes, Professor Lou herself was stunned. Sight singing and ear training had been on the curriculum since the fall. Having taught these students for half a year, she knew their capabilities well. She had just finished lecturing on triads. There were probably no more than 5 students in the entire hall who could identify the component notes. She had called on Wyatt because he seemed to be listening attentively and looked unfamiliar. She had assumed he was from another department, crashing the class. She never thought he was from another school entirely. But what was happening now? How could an outsider identify the triad she had just played? Are you a music student too? Professor Lou pressed. No, Wyatt said honestly. I'm a finance major. I'm just interested in music. You haven't had any professional training? Does watching tutorials on YouTube count? Professor Lou was skeptical. All right, try this one. Everyone else, quiet. Her words made it clear that Wyatt's first answer had been correct. The students in the classroom exchanged shocked glances. They were the ones studying this, and most had received some training before even applying to Juilliard, yet very few of them could identify the notes of a chord. The fact that a finance major could do it was astonishing. Professor Lou played another triad. This time, her eyes were fixed on Wyatt, not the piano keys. She wanted to see if someone was feeding him the answers or if he could truly hear it. The moment she finished playing, Wyatt replied instantly, C sharp, E, G sharp, again. Professor Lou played another one at random. Wyatt's answer was just as fast, G, B, D. After hearing 2 more correct answers, Professor Lou's eyes widened. Just as she was about to speak, Wyatt smiled. Professor, I could try a 9th chord. The classroom erupted. They all knew a triad was made of 3 notes, a 7th chord 4, and a 9th chord 5. The difficulty of identifying a triad was hearing 3 distinct notes in a single sound. A 9th chord added 2 more notes, more than doubling the difficulty. Professor Lou clapped her hands. Everyone quiet. Once the room settled, she asked, Are you sure you want to try a 9th chord? Let's give it a shot. Professor Lou's expression turned serious. Wyatt had already surprised her, and she was eager to see if he could really identify the notes of a 9th chord. She placed her hands on the keys and played a relatively harmonious 9th chord. The students in the classroom were completely baffled. How could anyone possibly hear that? Professor Lou saw that Wyatt hadn't answered immediately and was about to ask if he wanted her to play it again. E, G sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp. Wyatt smiled. That should be right, shouldn't it? Now Professor Lou was certain no one was feeding him the answers. She knew that none of her first-year students could possibly identify the notes of a 9th chord. The astonishment on her face was impossible to hide. She said, almost excitedly, one more. Listen carefully. This time, Professor Lou played a highly dissonant 9th chord that sounded like pure noise. Wyatt frowned, thought for about 10 seconds, and then answered, F, A, C, E flat. Are you really not a music student? Professor Lou asked again. Seeing her reaction, the students knew Wyatt had gotten every single answer right. I'm really not, Wyatt said with a smile. I just watched some tutorials online when I was learning guitar, and as I kept learning, I realized I might have perfect pitch. You have perfect pitch. Before Wyatt could answer, Professor Lou answered her own question. Yes, that has to be it. If you didn't have perfect pitch, there's no way you could have heard that. The classroom buzzed with excitement again. Perfect pitch. It was the one gift every music student in the room dreamed of having. But unfortunately, even in a top music school, it was an incredibly rare talent. Hearing the growing chatter, Professor Lou clapped her hands on the desk again. Quiet. Everyone be quiet. Look at this. Look, a finance major has this level of skill. Now look at yourselves. I tell you to go home and practice to listen more, but what do? You spend all your free time playing around. Every time I ask a question, you all look like you want to hide under your desks. All right, this class is almost over. For homework, every single one of you needs to review today's material. Next class, I'm calling people up to the front for a dictation test. And you, she said, looking at Wyatt, you can sit down. You're welcome to audit my class anytime in the future, as long as you follow the classroom rules. Ding-a-ling-a-ling.